What's up, doll collectors, hobbyists, fabs, and besties? I'm Toya, an adult doll collector. Welcome to my miniverse. It's the holiday season, and time for another MyFroggyStuff Mashup. We've put together a ton of videos from over the years. From doll rooms to quick crafts, we've got you covered. So you can sit back, relax, and enjoy. And maybe do a little crafting. I have some clear plastic from packaging left over from a recent video. Let's use it to make a few more decorations for the tree. I'm using red, a honey brown, and white craft paint, as well as gloss Mod Podge and a washable marker. Mix white and a little touch of brown paint to make this creamy color. On clear plastic from packaging, let's paint 3 lines that all meet in the center, or rather cross in the center, making kind of a little star. Then go around the edge. Doesn't have to be perfect. Then just round the corners a little. Go in with a little more paint to add texture and allow it to dry. If the lines are a little thick, we can always clean them up by scraping away some of the paint to get the look that we want. Mix a little brown and red paint. Paint around the edge, going all the way around. On my plastic paint palette, I color with a washable marker. Mix it with a little Mod Podge, then fill in all the little wedges. Once dried, it should have a little pink tint. And you can totally keep it clear, but on the back, I'm just mixing a little paint and Mod Podge, and I'm doing little lines. Fanning out, allow it to dry, then cut it out to make dried fruit slices to hang on the tree. I was going for dried grapefruit, but you could totally make it orange to have an orange. It's gonna add a little color to my tree, and now we just have to make a few more. So let's do that while watching a few videos. Roll the footage. We are going to give our dolls an IKEA-inspired holiday. First thing we have to do is build a new room. Let's get crafty. To build our room, we are using foam board from the dollar store. Use a ruler to draw a 15 by 13 inch rectangle. Cut it out, and remember to always have adult supervision when crafting. Now let's design the floor plan. Draw a 7-inch line 2.5 inches from the edge. Go up 1.5 inches, then over, leaving 1 inch to the edge. Measure and cut foam board to fit the lines drawn. I cut the top of the wall at an angle so we can make a roof. Here are the measurements. 7 inches across, 13 this side, and 14.5 on this side. 1 1/4 by 16.5, 14.5, 8 inches across, 16.5 up, and 12 by 14.5. Draw and cut out a door and a window. Cut clear plastic from packaging, glue it over the cutout, cut thin strips of paper, glue them onto the plastic to make panes. Trim the cutout for the door, glue scrapbook paper onto the front, cut out a small window, glue a small piece of clear plastic on top, cut foam board to glue around it, turn it over, and repeat on the other side. Push a toothpick into the corners of the top and bottom. Push the toothpick into the door cutout. I'm gluing a white brick scrapbook paper. I leave a little going over the edge so it can be wrapped around the corner. On the large wall, I covered the other side with a gray scrapbook paper to be wallpaper on the inside of the house. Take the foam board for the floor, cut popsicle sticks, glue them down to make a hardwood floor. Glue on the walls, pushing the other toothpick into the foam board so the door can open and close. I was about to glue on my wall when I realized I glued the brick to the wrong side. So I'm just gonna have to cover this side as well. Oops, my bad! I'm gonna glue this thin strip onto the side first, then cover it in paper. Glue it onto the floor, add the side wall, and now it is starting to look like a room. Cut strips of foam board and glue it on for the roof, and trim on the outside and the inside. Cut a rectangle of foam board and 2 strips for the sides. Cut and stack a few layers to go on top. Cut a rectangle out of the center. Glue scrapbook paper around the cutout. Cover the stack of foam board. Glue all 4 pieces together. Cut a piece of black paper to fit behind it. Glue the paper to the wall. Glue on the foam board to make a fireplace. Glue buttons onto the door for a knob to complete our room. It's like a little dream house. Now let's decorate. Glue on paper for a front step. Green on the other for grass. Add artificial plants. I go to IKEA's website for a few decoration ideas. I found these faux pines at the craft store, and I'm going to use these to make a tree. Cut off the stem, glue it to a cross of popsicle sticks. Cut the pine to make thin strips. Wrap them together at the ends to make one long strip. Begin bending it to make a coil in the shape of a tree. Place it onto the pole, wrapping it at the top. Make a smaller one to go underneath to fill out the tree. Trim the top to make a point, bend it, add a bead on the end to make our IKEA-inspired tree. Place the battery pack of LED lights underneath the tree. Wrap the lights around the tree so we can see it sparkle outside the window. This tree is similar to our pipe cleaner tree, so you can check that out in our holiday playlist. It's easy to make and doesn't take up a lot of space. Mushroom ornaments. Let's try to make these. I found these glitter glue sticks at the dollar store. Take out the white and the red. I need a metal surface, so I'm using this metal cup from the dollar store and a thin wire from the craft store. Make dots of glue on the flat surface. Place a small piece of wire in the glue before it dries. It helps to make a small bend in the wire before pushing it into the glue. Make several and allow them to dry. Use white paint to make small dots on top. I used leftover popsicle sticks to make a drying rack. Place a little white glue right on the edge and allow it to drip off, but not too much. This took a little practice. Once dried, cut one off. Carefully remove the red glue, turn it over, add a drop of white glue, then push the dried glue inside. Curl the wire to make a mushroom ornament that we can hang on the tree. Make more to decorate the tree. Now we need a wreath. Take an old hoop earring, glue on small leaves from artificial plants, add a few hot glue mushrooms, push a cut paper clip into the wall above the fireplace to hang the wreath in the room. Next is the stocking. Take gray felt and plaid ribbon, cut a piece of ribbon, sew the ribbon to the top of the felt using a straight stitch along the raw edge. Flip it over the edge, fold it over, use chalk to draw a stocking shape, sew on the line drawn, cut it out, turn it inside out, glue in a loop of ribbon to make a stocking to hang on the fireplace. Let's make a plushie. Cut a circle out of leftover felt, fold and cut it into fourths, sew a red zigzag stitch along the edge, and this is just like doing a back stitch, only you're going from side to side. Fold over the sides so they meet, neatly stitch going all the way up to make a cone hat. Take pom-poms, glue together a white and black pom-pom, cut a heart out of felt, glue the pom-poms onto the felt, place a small pom-pom inside the hat, glue it on top, glue on a tiny pom-pom for a nose to make Santa gnomes that we can display around the room. Cut a piece of a fluffy fabric for a rug. Cut and stack leftover foam board to make a wide chair, just like the sofa we made in our IKEA Versus video. Use a cut piece of a t-shirt for a throw, add a pillow, and place it in the room to complete our newest IKEA-inspired room. I love this. We can look through the window and see our tree, open the door to an enchanted holiday room that we can add to our other IKEA-inspired rooms to grow our dollhouse. Thank you for joining us while we made our IKEA-inspired decorations. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Instagram at MyFroggyStuff and the Frog Vlog. And you're done. Happy crafting!
Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
What's up, doll collectors, hobbyists, fabs, and besties? I'm Toya, an adult doll collector. Welcome to my Miniverse. To me, it feels like December is just flying by. I haven't even finished decorating my tree yet, but I just finished my 2024 holiday printables. I went with kind of a gingerbread theme, and we made some wall art. So if you have our pumpkin spice room from this video, we can take our new printable, print it on cardstock or paper, cut them out, then remove the pumpkin spice art and replace it with the gingerbread art. It comes with a printed frame, however you can always make one like we did in our pumpkin spice video. Or we can just trim them a little and place them right on top. I did not glue it in place, it's just kind of wedged in there, and it's holding pretty good. However, you could always use a little poster putty if you need help. By just switching out the art, we can quickly go from this to this. I added our fluffy ribbon tree, a fireplace from a previous video. Let's add a fuzzy blanket, cut out the gingerbread village from the other printable, bend it between the houses, accordion style, to make a quick decoration for the fireplace. There are 3 cards that we can cut out. We can print them on cardstock or on paper and then just glue them to cardstock, then fold them in half to make miniature holiday cards that we can display on the fireplace. I wanted to print the card on photo paper, so I cropped it and printed it out, then cut it out just like before and bend it to get an image that's a little more clear and looks super professional. At the top of the printable, we have wrapping paper. Print them on paper and cut them out. One is pink with candy cane hearts. Another one has candy canes, gingerbread houses, and bows. And the last one has a winter tree and snow. We can take a paper straw, cut it to the length of the paper, use a little glue on the back of the paper, then glue it to the straw. Roll the paper until it looks like a roll of wrapping paper. And we can use a little glue to hold the ends down. Then repeat to make all 3 miniature rolls of wrapping paper. Now we need something to wrap. Good thing we added a new book cover to the printable. Cut out the pages, the templates, and the cover. Glue the template for the cover onto cardstock and cut it out so all the pieces are separate. Take the cover and fold on the lines. Take the cardstock and glue them between the creases, making sure there's a little bit of space between them. Fold over and glue down the tabs to make a cover for the book. Now we need pages. I'm just going to take the template and place it onto cardstock, cut several rectangles, stack and glue them together until you get the thickness that you want. Glue it into the cover on the spine and the back, then glue in the faux pages to make a new mini book for the dollhouse with a cover that can open so we can make it look like the dolls are reading. Now we can take our wrapping paper, flip the paper over, place the book in the center, and just go ahead and wrap it. Cutting small pieces of tape to hold everything in place. Fold over the ends on both sides, then just fold it over. Add more tape. Cut a thin strip of leftover paper from the printable for a ribbon. Take another strip of paper, fold and glue the ends to make 2 loops. Wrap another piece of paper around the center to make a small paper bow. I cut a piece of paper with little tails, and we're gonna just glue that on. Then add our little bow. Let's add a second smaller one to make a little present. And we can add a card to match, giving us a little something to place under the tree. If you printed the wrapping paper on cardstock, we can still use it by cutting 2.5 inches from the top, fold it at 1¼ inch, then move over 1/4 inch, another 1¼ inch, then another 1/4 inch, and there should be 1/4 inch left over. Fold over the top 1/4 or 1/2 inch, fold the bottom at 1/4, make small cuts on the bottom folds. I cut small triangles, fold over and glue down the top, glue on small pieces of ribbon, cord, or thread for handles, then fold and glue the sides and the bottom to make a tiny, narrow gift bag that is just large enough to hold a book. But will I be able to take it back out is the question. Yeah, probably shouldn't put the book all the way in. We can play around with the measurements to make gift bags in different sizes. On the printable, we also have a few cookies that we can glue onto a few layers of cardstock, cut them out to make easy gingerbread cookies for the dolls. Now that we have a few cookies, we could use something to drink. In our stocking stuffer haul, we opened Disney Munchlings for the first time. These are little miniature desserts and treats with a Disney theme. Some are scented and there is a color reveal, but it looks like you have to put it in water, so yeah, I'm probably not gonna do that. But I do like the idea of super cute desserts for the Dollhouse. These are by Just Play, and there might be a code. These were $4.99. I bought them at Target, and there are 4 items inside. 2 mystery food items and 2 accessories. This is a plate. Kinda love that. There's a collector's guide letting us know that there are 80 Munchlings in this series. Oh no, I think I got an older wave because the French chocolate Remy that we got in the last video, this one right here, says coming soon. But hopefully we can still find some good minis for the Dollhouse. We got a mint dipped ice cream sandwich of Mickey Mouse. You know what? These look like they could be totally perfect with our Illy Forever dolls to use as Disney park treats. I could totally see us having a Disney Munchling bakery with a side menu of savory dishes. Oh, and this is scented. It's a savory smell, kind of salty-ish if you can smell the salt, but yeah, not enjoying it. And we can place it in the included basket. Let's open another one. This one is B123. I got more plates, 1 green and 1 blue. I did make sure that the codes were different when I was in the store, so hopefully no doubles. It's Wally as a chocolate dipped sponge cake. This one is scented. It has kind of a chocolate smell. And the next one is Salmon Roll Daisy Duck. It smells the same as this one. They have a mini fridge. This one is a light orange and the door can open. Has a little clear plastic here. We've got a few racks inside so we can store and display our minis. We could use this as a small fridge in a doll room, maybe one to store makeup, or as a refrigerator for Chelsea, or in a Disney Munchlings bakery. We also get a squirt bottle. We also get a pair of tongs and 4 mystery Munchlings for $9.99. I like the box. And inside we find 4 bags with a double. We got another Wally cake. However, the coloring is slightly different. In the next one, we have a cherry snow cone. It's scented. Not sure what it's supposed to smell like, but there's a smell. In the next bag, we have strawberry sundae waffle cone. It matches the room. And our last one is lemon chocolate cake Simba. looks like Remy is still the best choice to go with our cookies. So today we made holiday art, wrapping paper, a gingerbread village, holiday cards, gift bags, a new mini book, and easy gingerbread cookies, giving us 7 quick crafts for the holidays. And we checked out more Disney munchlings, which gives the vibes of Disney doorables, only as food. Our printables are available on our blog, myfroggystuff.blogspot.com, to download for free. Thank you for joining us. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Fanbase, YouTube, and Instagram at MyFroggyStuff and Bella of MyFroggyStuff on Instagram. And we will see you next time. Bye! With the holidays approaching, I thought it would be fun to make a miniature elf on the shelf. Using a red and white pipe cleaner, felt, embroidery floss, a needle and thread, wooden beads, and paint. I start by bending a pipe cleaner, trim off the excess, begin twisting it at the top for the head, body, and legs. Cut a piece of a white pipe cleaner, then twist it around for the arms, leaving enough space at the top to place the bead later. Trim the fluff from the arms and legs. Using embroidery floss or thread, begin to tightly wrap the arms. When I get to the end, I bend the pipe cleaner, go back and wrap it a few times, then continue back down the arm. Continue on the other arm, go around the neck, tie it in the front, and trim off the excess. Repeat on the legs using red. Cut small rectangles of felt, wrap it around the legs and arms, and I use a needle and thread to sew the ends together on the back, covering the leg in felt. Repeat for the other leg, and to minimize the bulk, I try to keep the rectangle of felt as thin as possible. Then continue on the arms, leaving a little white on the ends for the gloves. For the body, I cut a small rectangle, make small cuts on the sides to go around the arms, then sew the ends together to close it in the back. Tie a knot the string and trim off the excess. On a thin rectangle of white felt, cut a zigzag pattern, wrap it around the neck, and sew in the back. I take a wooden bead and paint it a skin tone, lightly sketch the face and hair with a pencil, go over it with paint. I watered down a little pink to go around the eyes. Then I began to fill the eyes in with white. Add the eye color. I painted one with blue eyes and one with brown. Add black for the pupil, then eyelashes, then a tiny white dot for a little shine. Add some lips, paint on the hair, add a clear drying glue over the eyes to make them glossy, cut a pie shape out of the felt, with the rounded end on the bottom, fold it in half, sew up the side to make a cone. Turn it inside out, glue it onto the bead, cut a thin strip of white and glue it around the edge. To make sure the hat fits snug, I am holding the white felt firmly in the back until it dries. Attach the head to the body to make a posable, doll-sized elf on the shelf. And you're done.
Happy crafting! Sitting close to keep us warm. The mistletoe is hanging at the door. Christmas is the time to set your mind and spirit free. Everybody smile while we decorate the tree. If I could, I wish for you to spend Christmas here with me.
Today, I am going to make a room that can fold up for easy storage. Using a large white trifold, lots of scrapbook paper, a printable from our blog, myfroggystuff.blogspot.com, balsa wood, I think that's how you say it, I found it in the woodworking section at the craft store, lots of glue, and clear plastic from packaging. I start by taking the trifold, flip it over to the back, use a ruler to find the center, draw a line at that center point. I went up 18 inches. Make a mark at 14 inches on the sides, draw a line connecting the top of the center to the side, cut on the line drawn just along the top to separate it, giving us a basic house shape. When we turn it around and open it up, we will have the inside of our room. Let's lay it down and draw a few details. I'm gonna draw on the back because I already have that center line, where I can draw a large rectangle that goes all the way to the top. Draw a 3-inch window on the side. Repeat so everything is symmetrical. Open the trifold and stretch out one of the sides and draw a door. My door is 13 inches tall and 4 inches wide. But I need to add a small line at the bottom. That was too large. Let's make it smaller. So we'll have a small place for the door to lock into, so it stays in place. Cut out the door and windows. I hang on to the door cutout. We will need that later. Take leftover cardboard from the trifold and draw a rectangle to match the rectangle we drew in the center of the room, and I added 3/4 of an inch on each side. Cut on the outer edge, trace the top of the room, score the lines on the sides that are 3/4 of an inch so we can bend them. On the back wall, cut along the top roof, but keep the sides straight. This is going to allow our wall to pop out just a little and add some dimension. Now that I think about it, this is going to create a little bevel that I don't want. So I cut them off completely and I'll glue them right onto the edge. But before I do that, I trace the centerpiece onto leftover cardboard and cut out 2 more that we will use later. Glue the strips onto the sides and cover it with paper. I'm using a printable from my blog. Carefully wrap it around the edges to make an architectural detail that will go on the outside of the room. But before we glue that into place, use a wood grain scrapbook paper and cover the entire structure, starting with the outside first. Wrapping the paper over all of the raw edges. To get around the edges that bend, close the trifold, then glue the paper over the edge. I trimmed off the excess, then give it some time to dry before opening it up. When you do open it, you want to make sure the paper goes into the crevice when the trifold is laying flat. Fold over the extra paper and glue it on the other side. I didn't worry about covering all of this area because remember, we made this to cover it up. But it's not time to glue this on just yet. Turn the trifold around to the other side, cut the wood grain paper into strips, glue the strips onto the trifold, leaving a little space between each row to look like the inside of a log cabin. Cut clear plastic from packaging, glue it over the cutouts for the windows, cut the balsa wood to go around the windows. This wood is pretty soft. I can cut it with an X-Acto knife. All I do is score it going around all of the sides, then add a little pressure on the last side, and it's done. Use hot glue to attach it. Cut a leftover piece to fit right across the middle. Take the cutout from the door, trim it down just a little, cover with scrapbook paper, unfold a paper clip, cut it in half, push the cut paper clips into the corners of the door, push the other end of the paper clip into the frame of the door, cut and glue wood all the way around it. This will add strength to the door frame, especially across the bottom end. Flip it over and add wood to the other side, so it looks finished on the inside and out. Now let's glue the stone wall in place. However, I'm not loving this color. I want something a little more gray. So I changed the saturation of my printable and recovered it. Glue it directly to the outside wall to look like the back of a fireplace. Trim the top edge with more of the wood to give the illusion of a roof. And since I avoided putting wood in the corners, the whole thing can still fold up for easy storage. I found this battery-operated lantern at Five Below. It has a really cool glow when it's turned on and has the illusion of flames. I'm going to use those pieces of cardboard we cut out earlier to make a box around it, so it looks like it's a part of the room. On one of the pieces of cardboard, I trace the sides of the lantern so I can draw a rectangle to cut out. Cut 2 more pieces of cardboard to go on the sides. Glue them together to make a box. Glue it on top of a square of cardboard. Cover it with the stone printable. I covered all 4 sides, giving us the option to use it as a room divider. Take the lantern, turn it on, place it in the top to make a fireplace for the room. Cut, stack, and glue together thin pieces of cardboard. Cover it with scraps of paper. Glue it right above the fire to make a mantle. Glue picture hooks onto the door for handles. Take the leftover cardboard from the trifold, cover it with paper to make a floor. Completing our fold-up ski lodge with a Five Below fireplace that we can move around the room and place on whatever wall we like. I love having options. Now we can use a few things from previous videos to make it comfy, like our sectional sofa. We can turn it around and have it face the fireplace. Add a small rectangle of faux fur for a blanket, a few throw pillows, cut fabric for a rug, add a dollar store coffee table, a printable book or 2, and a cup of hot cocoa, creating a miniature ski lodge scene. This is a pretty large space. You can have a lot of fun decorating it over and over again. Plus, it's kind of nice that everything can be moved around. And the walls fold down for easy storage. We have a door that can open and a fireplace that glows. I think I like the fireplace best when it's in the center of the room. I moved things around a little bit, used a smaller couch. I was able to add our table from our Versus remint and a little tree in the background. This is such a cute little festive look. On the first day of crafting, my froggy stuff made me a ski lodge that folds down. On the second day of crafting, my froggy stuff made me a fireplace that glows and a ski lodge that folds down. That's all I got for now. But thank you for joining us while we did a little crafting. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Instagram at MyFroggyStuff and the Frog Vlog. And you're done. Happy crafting!
Cause all I wanna do is spend this holiday with you.
I am going to make a Christmas tree lot for a doll using recycled cardboard, scrapbook paper, pipe cleaners, thread, paint, paper clips, ribbon and bows, beads, recycled paperboard, and glue. And remember to always have adult supervision when dealing with hot objects. I start by cutting a piece of cardboard. For the base, cut thin strips of cardboard, stack and glue them together. To make a few beams, cover with scrapbook paper, glue the beams into the corners. Cut a house shape out of a piece of cardboard, cut a rectangle for a side wall, and another for the floor. Cut out a window, cover with paper, glue the walls to the floor, cover the inside with scrapbook paper to look like wallpaper, use paper for trim, and a door. Cut cardboard, cover with paper, then glue it on to make the trim stand out. Cut and cover strips of cardboard, glue it on top for the roof. Place it in the back corner for a small building on the tree lot. Glue beads onto thread, glue the thread to the beams for lights. Wrap ribbon around the beams and add bows for decoration. Bend pipe cleaners into a circle, attach a bow, cut the end off of an unfolded paper clip, bend it to make a hook. Push the ends into a beam to display the wreaths. Cut and glue together pieces of paperboard, paint it, lightly sketch, paint over the sketch, lightly sand with a nail file to make vintage signs to place around the lot. Add trees from our doll Christmas tree video to finish the Christmas tree lot. And for a little extra fun, we found these light up necklaces at Michael's craft store that can be used for working lights. And you're done.
Happy crafting! We gather round the chimney, sitting close to keep us warm. The mistletoe is hanging at the door. Christmas is the time to set your mind and spirit free. Everybody smiling while we decorate the tree. If I could, I wish for you to spend Christmas here with me.
Now that we have our ski lodge, let's add to it. We asked all of you on our social media, what should we add? And the number one response was skis, which makes sense since it's a ski lodge. So that's what we're gonna do. We are using giant craft sticks that we bought at Walmart. There are 45 in a pack. Each one is 1 1/4 inch by 10 inches, and it only takes 1 to make 2 skis. I start by taking a ruler and draw a line directly down the center for the 2 skis. Near the top, let's make a rounded curve. Kinda pointy, but not. Repeat on the other one. At the bottom, draw a line going straight across, then round the ends. Just a little. I'm using an X-Acto knife to cut down that center line. And I might have to go over this a few times. So you very carefully go down the line, then again and again if needed. And there we go. We got it. Now I have to get close to these curve lines. And I'm just gonna cut off as much as I can. I got close to the line, but didn't cross it. At the top and the bottom. Use a nail file to get the rest of the wood. I am taking my time and sanding right up to that line, but you don't want to go over it because then your skis are going to be a little lopsided or a little wonky. So take your time and sand. Sand the bottom. I want to take in the sides just a little. Use the file to sand to the line. It's a very slight little indentation here, but when compared to the other one, I can see it. Repeat to make 2. I want to curve the tip up just a little. So let's take a cup of hot water, place the tip in the water, let it sit there for a few minutes. Since we're waiting, might as well do both at the same time. And I'm adding a little pressure by pushing on the side of the cup. Take them out of the water, and they're pretty soft. So I'm going to very carefully bend this just at the tip. I don't need a huge bend, a slight one will do. Let them dry completely, then let's paint. I'm using an acrylic paint to paint the top blue. Let's add a little pink right under that blue. It should mesh pretty well. Ooh, it's like an ombre. Then add more of the bright pink to the end. Allow them to dry. While waiting, I painted a few more. How about a solid color? Gotta throw in some pink. How about green on the top and black on the bottom? Once the first coat dries, we can add to it by adding little stripes, dots, and letters to make a variety of different skis. Take 2 bamboo skewers, cut them to 7.5 inches, file the rough edges, and file the pointed end down just a little. Use a circle hole punch to punch holes out of paperboard. Make a small hole in the center so you can place it on the bamboo skewer. Use hot glue to secure it, paint it, let it dry, then paint the end black. Make 2 to make ski poles, and we can glue a little elastic onto the handle so the dolls can hold it. Now we can't have all this stuff just laying around, so let's build a stand. Using 3 giant craft sticks and 2 jumbo craft sticks. Start by drawing a line down the center of all of the giant craft sticks. Cut on the line drawn. Repeat to cut them all. Sand any rough edges smooth. Take one and measure 6 inches. Cut on the lines drawn. Repeat to make 5. Take the last one, cut it in half. Sand the ends round on both of them. Take the jumbo craft sticks and cut off one end. Glue them to the center of the rounded pieces. Take one of the 6-inch boards and glue it in between the 2 jumbo craft sticks. Glue 2 more right on the sides, creating a small little box. Take another one and glue it across the top. But before I glue it, I use a ruler to draw a line every inch. Take a leftover piece, cut it into 1/2-inch pieces, glue them onto the lines drawn, then glue it at the top, then glue the last 6-inch piece on the front. To make a rack to hold the skis, line up 3 jumbo craft sticks, take another one and cut off the rounded ends, then cut it in half, glue them going across, and I chose to go ahead and cut off the ends and sand them. Flip it over, take a wooden dowel, cut 2 3-inch pieces, glue them to the back corners, cut 2 1.5-inch pieces, glue them to the 2 corners in the front, glue a few coffee stirrers going across the back, and 2 on the sides. Take another wooden dowel and glue it right in the middle. Carefully paint everything except for the seat. I'm using black, then silver. To make an old-fashioned ski lift, we can make it look like it's moving by holding it at the top. Place a doll on the seat, and they're ready to go to the top of the mountain. Oh wait, she forgot her skis. I'm using poster putty, and I'm using a generous amount on the bottom of our doll shoes. Then stick the shoe to the ski to attach the skis to the bottom of their feet. And they stay in place. Look at that, it's pretty good. Using the putty allows us to use whatever shoe we like without damaging them. And now she's ready to hit the slopes. Whee! Let's put the ski rack right outside our ski lodge and cue the song. On the 6th day of crafting, my froggy stuff made me an old-fashioned ski lift and 5 pairs of skis, 4 ski poles, a wooden ski rack, a fireplace that glows, and a ski lodge that folds up. And you all said that our ski lodge needed a larger tree, so we're using the one we made in our YouTube live. We can put that right in the corner. I found this garland wire at Target, and I just bent it into a circle, glue on some mini bulbs, and hang it above the fireplace. I take these tiny little brush trees we found at Target, cut the wires, glue them back onto the base to make mini decorative trees for the mantle. Let's take this fur off the couch and place it on the floor right in front of the fireplace. Cut a piece of red knit fabric, lay it over the couch for a throw. Then let's spruce up those pillows a little. I got this wine bag from Target. It was $3. Using Post-it notes as a pattern, to sew a few pillows. On a Post-it note, draw the shape of a stocking, use it on the leftover fabric, use chalk to draw around it, then sew on the inner line, trim off the excess, flip it inside out, fold in the top, add ribbon around the top to make a stocking to hang on the mantle. I would like to add something to the wall, but it has to be flat because this room still needs to fold down. So I'm taking one of my holiday cards, so I trim it down to the size that I want, take leftover wood that we used to make the room, and paint it gold, cut it to go around the card, use drops of hot glue to add a little texture, touch it up with a little paint to make a frame to hang on the wall. I'm cutting these pom-poms off of the wine bag to use as fluffy pillows, put some skis in the back corner, and there was one more thing someone suggested. Oh yeah, place a dog by the fireplace to complete our ski lodge just in time for the holidays. Thank you for joining us for this wintertime craft. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Instagram at MyFroggyStuff and the Frog Vlog. And you're done. Happy crafting!
Doesn't matter if the snow is falling or the wind blows and the rain is pouring. It will always be Christmas in my heart. But this year I wanna hang out with my friends and family, making angels in the January.
What's up, doll collectors, hobbyists, fabs, and besties? I'm Toya, an adult doll collector. Welcome to my Miniverse. One of my favorite things to do is to create things that I have seen or experienced in real life, in miniature. I went to the Atlanta Botanical Gardens to see the garden light show, and it was so beautiful. Totally got inspired, and now I want to make something smaller in miniature to use as a backdrop for doll photography. So let's make a box. For this project, let's use a cardboard box. We only need the scene to be large enough to take a photo. A while back, I ordered another 65th anniversary Barbie when it went on sale so I can have one to customize. It was shipped in this Mattel box, which is a very sturdy cardboard. It's a little over 11 inches wide, just about 14 inches tall, and 3.5 inches deep. I cut the top of the box to a height that can fit on my shelves. I cut down one side and along the bottom to open it up. Now we have to decide how wide we want our scene to be. For the back of the box, we can use scrapbook paper or pictures from calendars and magazines, or print out a picture. We took this photo at the Botanical Gardens, and I just printed it out to use as my backdrop. This is just printed on one piece of paper. I need it to be a little larger. However, as the picture gets larger, we do lose some of that sharpness and it's a tiny bit more blurry and uses more ink. I'm going to put all 3 sizes on my blog so you can decide which one you want. The largest printable takes at least 4 pages. For a scene that's about 23 inches wide and 13 inches tall. And the 4th printable is for the bottom. And there's another printable for just the ground. So this could be 5 to 6 pages. The single page printable is good for calico critters and other small dolls. And the medium size can be used for a quick headshot. I'm going to make mine 15 inches because I know that will fit on my shelves. I trim off the excess cardboard, then glue in scraps to level the floor. From the spare cardboard, cut a rectangle to glue on for the other side. To make our box, take poster board or paperboard, cut a piece that can fit inside the box, glue the printables or scrapbook paper to the poster board. We could just glue the printables directly into the box. I just like using poster board because it can help to smooth out the lines from the cardboard. I'm starting with the center and then I add the sides. They do overlap slightly. I didn't get mine to match up perfectly, but hopefully it won't be that noticeable. Take the other printable with the 3 pictures, cut them out, and glue them to the bottom. I allow the ends of the paper to hang over the edge. Cut another piece of poster board to fit the bottom of the box. Print out the printable for the ground and cover it. I'm gluing one in the center and then patching it on the sides. Alright, not too bad. Before gluing the poster board into the box, let's cover the outside with a little wrapping paper. You can use tape. I'm just using a little glue, wrapping it over the edge so the outside is covered and kinda looks like a present. On the other side, glue in the poster board. You can let it curve for a seamless backdrop or push it into the corners. Take that extra piece that we left on earlier and glue it down to make sure there are no gaps. Then glue down the piece we made for the floor, giving us an easy printed backdrop that we can use to take photos of the dolls. We can take it a step further and use some of the leftover cardboard to draw some tree shapes. Cut them out. I made 2 that will fit on the sides of the box. We can paint them or cover them with scrapbook paper or cover them with one of our printables. This is our bark printable that is available on our blog. I just glue it onto the cardboard and wrap it going around the edge. They don't have to be super neat, and I like adding a few wrinkles for texture. Let's place them near the box to see how they look. I originally planned on gluing them to the side. However, part of me wants to use them to cover up some of those seams, or at least kinda cover them. I cut a little more cardboard, cover it with paper, then glue them on to widen the tree. Take LED lights and wrap them around the trees so they look like they are covered in Christmas lights. Then glue them into the box and attach the battery pack on the side. Let's add a little bit of greenery to sell the idea that these are decorated trees. Glue more around the bottom of the trees because we kinda just glued them in the middle of our scene, which I am not loving, so I decided to go ahead and move them to the sides. Then I patch the ground by placing more paper over my mistakes and cover it with a few plants. I removed the plants from the top. I was finding it a little distracting because sometimes less is more. Now we have a scene where it looks like there are trees in the background that are covered in lights and there are a few close up. Let's grab a doll and pick out something to wear. How about this pink sweater and jeans we bought on Amazon with a beanie for a comfy, cozy look, perfect for walking around checking out the lights. We can take a scrap of leftover paper, roll it around the end of a paintbrush using glue to secure it, trim off the excess, trim the top and bottom to make a cup. Glue it to a scrap of paper, then fill it with hot glue. While the glue is cooling, let's cut a Q-tip into small pieces for easy mini marshmallows. Mix brown paint and Mod Podge. Paint the glue with the mixture. Add the Q-tip marshmallows into the wet paint and glue. Trim off the excess paper to make a quick cup of hot cocoa. Add a little poster putty to the side so we can attach it to the doll's hand. Place the doll in the scene. Make sure we can see the cocoa in the cup. I'm gonna have her looking off to the side like she's looking at the lights, and maybe the wind is blowing just a little to get our shot. Yes, we did all that just for a photo. Wow, the things we do for doll photography. And honestly, I don't think we need LED lights. But if we still want that dimension, we can take more cardboard and cover it with the printable to make a tree that looks like it has lights. Then glue it into the box for another option that blends in. I love that we recycled a doll box and now we have a backdrop where we can take photos anytime we want. Thank you for joining us while we made a Botanical Gardens inspired backdrop with holiday lights. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Instagram at MyFroggyStuff, the Frog Vlog, and Bella of MyFroggyStuff. And we will see you next time. Bye! They said same Nick, what you got up in that bag, yeah. I got racks in my sack, in my bag, yeah. Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, and Vixen. Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen. No, I can't forget about the one with the red nose. When I fly high, my sleigh still stay 10 toes. Bring the beat, bring the cheese. What's up, doll collectors, hobbyists, fabs, and besties? I'm Toya, an adult doll collector. Welcome to my Miniverse. I was looking at our holiday lights backdrop and thought, let's add to it. This space right here is enough to get a good photo. See? And the fact that I did not line up my printables perfectly on this side makes me want to build something in this corner to hide it. To the craft table. So here is our holiday lights backdrop from this video. Let's remove the faux tree and all of the little plants we glued to the bottom. Take a leftover piece of poster board, cut a piece that can fit into the box into the corner. Cut a triangle for the bottom and glue it in place. We can add recycled paperboard or cardboard to make it stronger. I'm going to glue a little cardboard around the bottom. I'm using a few scraps that are about 5 inches long. I add a few to the bottom as well, piecing them together to cover the space. This is also a good time to use a few scraps of foam board as well. Let's take a few jumbo craft sticks and glue them to the top on both sides. I cut another scrap of cardboard at 6 inches that can fit across the front. Cut another triangle to glue to the top. I added another piece of cardboard for support, then glue it into the corner. Cut and glue on more craft sticks, covering the front and top of the cardboard. Let's clean up our edges with more cut pieces of craft sticks and a few wooden coffee stirrers. Inch wooden dowels onto the sides, but they stop a little before the top. So let's take another jumbo craft stick and measure it going across the top. Cut it to those measurements. Frame it with skinny sticks or coffee stirrers to make a sign that can fit across the top. But I'm not going to glue it on just yet. I think I want to create a little bit of a lip right here to give us a little more counter space. I cut another craft stick that I can glue onto the front. Glue on a few more skinny sticks for support or coffee stirrers to make our extension. Let's paint it. I'm using a paint and Mod Podge mixture, giving it a little sheen and allowing us to still see the wood grain. Then let's paint the sign. I made the center black and the outside brown. Then I use a little white paint to add letters. And now we can glue the sign in place. For our hot cocoa stand that fits in the corner of our backdrop. And it's removable. If you don't need it to be removable, you can always just glue it into the box. Now it's time to add a few more minis. We can look through our mini brands for grocery items that are often used with hot cocoa, like chocolate milk, chocolate syrup, chocolate bars, maybe a few Teddy Grahams on the side, caramel syrup for when you're getting fancy, with a little Cool Whip, or maybe some caramel chunks. We have cream-filled wafers. Oh, and I have a few Shopkins mixed in here, which can also work. And there is a little Shopkin inside that looks like a cup of hot cocoa, and it's kind of perfect. Let's go with a couple of these and some chocolate syrup, and we're already running low on space. So I made a few shelves. Let's glue them into our stand, giving us a little more shelving space. We can also add a few mini trees from the dollar store for a touch of greenery. Let's add this box of baking chocolate. I picked up these mini glass cork bottles at the dollar store as well. We can go back to an oldie but goodie and cut a cotton swab into small pieces to make our mini marshmallows that we can add to the jar. 3 cotton swabs later, I add the cork, then place it on the shelf. I'm going to add this box of hot cocoa from Teeny Tinies from Five Below and a little coffee cup I got on Amazon. And you can barely tell that there's anything inside. Let's take a few more cotton swabs. I use a red acrylic marker to make a line going all the way around. Cut off the ends. I have a larger cork bottle from the dollar store. Then we just have to cut the Q-tips to fit and place them in the bottle. For candy canes, I place the leftover pieces in a smaller bottle so we don't waste. Let's add that bottle of chocolate syrup from Mini Brands, take some leftover paperboard, cut 2 by 2.5 inch rectangles, glue them together, glue coffee stirs around the edge. For a frame, we can also glue them around the edge to make a tray. Paint them. You can have fun and paint them whatever color you want. I painted the tray red, then cut a small piece of ribbon and glue it on top. Add 2 mugs, maybe a few of our toilet paper cookies, another mini tree, maybe some Mini Brands, and since this is a double, I'm just going to add a little hot glue and glue it to the tray. Let's cut a few marshmallows, add a little paint and Mod Podge to the cups, add the mini marshmallows, paint another cotton swab like a candy cane, and allow it to dry. While waiting, let's take the other piece of paperboard that we painted and use a white acrylic marker to write a menu that we can attach to the wall. Let's go back to our candy cane cotton swabs and very carefully and slowly begin to bend one side. I paint it with clear nail polish, allow it to dry, and then trim it to make a candy cane with a hook. Add a small jar to the tray to hold a candy cane or 2, making a tray with snacks and hot cocoa. I think there is just enough space for it to fit on the counter. And now we have a hot cocoa stand for the dolls to get something warm while they enjoy the holiday lights. And the tray can easily be taken into the dollhouse. I love adding to our crafts. I think this is so perfect for our holiday lights backdrop, and it's a great way to find something to do with those mini brands. Thank you for joining us while we made a hot cocoa stand. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Fanbase and on Instagram at MyFroggyStuff and Bella of MyFroggyStuff on Instagram. And we will see you next time. Bye! I am going to make Christmas cookies for a doll using cornstarch, baking soda, water, vanilla extract, aluminum foil, acrylic paint, and a clear drying glue. I start by taking a microwave-safe bowl, add 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, 2 tablespoons of baking soda, and 1 tablespoon of water. Mix well until milky. Microwave for 20 seconds. The outside edges have bubbled up and the inside is still a little gooey. Add vanilla extract, then stir until cooled. The vanilla extract will lightly scent the dough and make it golden brown like real sugar cookies. Once the dough is cool to the touch, continue to knead it. Lay down some aluminum foil, pull off a small piece of dough, and roll it into a ball. Place it on the foil and gently push down to flatten it, making a circular cookie. Make 2, one slightly larger than the other. Then place them side by side and gently push down. And to make sure that these stay together, you can add a tiny touch of water on top. It'll just help to cement them together. Take a ball of clay and press down. I'm using a plastic butter knife to push over the sides to make them flat, because we're going to square this up. Take another ball of dough and begin to roll it out. It will start to look like a snake. Bend over one end, trim it near the top here and down here. Gently flatten it, rounding the ends to make a candy cane. Allow them to air dry overnight or bake in the oven at about 150 until completely dried out for about 2 hours or so. Baking times will vary. I store the dough in a Ziploc bag and I squeeze all the air out of it when not in use because it will quickly start to dry out. Once our doll-sized cookies are done, it is time to ice them. I am using acrylic paint in either a gloss or a satin finish. To give the paint a little texture, I am going to add some cornstarch. I placed a little cornstarch on the palette, a drop of paint, add a scoop of cornstarch to the paint, and then mix it up. I like to make this in small batches because it will dry fairly quickly with the added cornstarch. Add more as needed until you get the texture of icing. All right, so that looks about right. Use the mixture to frost the cookie. You just kind of paint it on there just like you would do for a real cookie. And this gives the cookie some great texture. Place it onto the foil and allow it to dry. I mix a little white cornstarch paint, apply it to the candy cane, allow it to dry, and I'm going to add white to the little double circles as well. I stopped to take a look over the cookies I've already done, and I noticed that the red ones are starting to crack a little bit in the frosting. The white paint, on the other hand, is perfectly fine, and I think that is because this was a gloss and this was a satin. So to fix that, I'm gonna go back and mix a little bit of this glossy clear drying glue into the paint and then go back over it. I mix a little green paint using the glue and the cornstarch because this was a satin finish, so I can paint the square cookie green. Once the base coat is dry, I paint on details, like stripes on the candy canes. On the red circle cookies, add a black line for a belt, a yellow square in the middle for a buckle, and some white frosting down the center to make Santa belly cookies. On the two circles, add a scarf at the center, black dots for eyes and buttons, and a touch of orange to make a snowman. On the square cookie, I draw perpendicular lines, then a little bow to make a present. I painted a circle cookie white, then used light blue paint to make a snowflake. Once the paint is dried, brush them all with a thin layer of glue. To make a quick paper plate, I'm going to use mini baking cups. I count out 3 and then turn them inside out. Begin to trim it down to make festive paper plates. Fill the plates with cookies, and you're done.
Happy crafting! If I could, I wish for you to spend Christmas here with me. Tell me, can you feel it? There is love in the air. No more feeling lonely or in despair. We give out the presents, they keep coming back for more. No one.
What's up, Fabs and Besties? Today, we're gonna do a little crafting with paper. With a little brown cardstock, a glue stick, and a white gel pen, we can make gingerbread. For our dolls, that is. But first, we're going to need a bowl. So I take a plain piece of white paper. I use a paper cutter to cut it into thin strips. Cut several. Cut the end off of a Q-tip, add a little glue onto the end, then glue it onto a strip of paper. Begin rolling the Q-tip so the paper wraps around it. When I get to the end, apply a little glue, then glue on another strip of paper, and continue rolling. Repeat to make a larger circle. Glue down the end so it's nice and secure. Cut off the Q-tip, take something round like a Christmas bulb, push it onto the paper, and just kind of mold it around it until it takes on its shape. Brush the sides with a little acrylic paint. I left a band of white at the bottom and a little white at the top. Allow it to dry. While waiting, cut 2 inches of a wooden dowel. Use a nail file to sand the ends round. Cut white paper to 1.25 inches. Apply glue onto the ends to connect 2 pieces. Apply glue onto the other end and glue it in the center of the wooden dowel. Roll the paper, gluing the end to make a rolling pin. If the paint is dry, carefully remove it from the ornament, and we're going to push it onto the table just to flatten the bottom. I made sure to only flatten the part we didn't paint. Seal it with a little nail polish. While waiting for that to dry, stack and glue together 4 pieces of cardstock. I painted a few white strips red, glue them around the edge, stack and glue together 4 layers of brown cardstock. Let's cut a basic little house shape out of the center, then cut the edges kind of wobbly so it looks like dough. I covered the rectangle with a few layers of nail polish. It's now dry. Let's place the bowl in the corner, the dough on the side, the little cutout right here, and we can put the rolling pin here to create a little scene that looks like the dolls have been baking. I glued it all in place with a little polish. All right, on to the main event. I take brown cardstock and cut 4 1-inch strips. Apply glue, then stack them together. Cut it into smaller pieces, then cut the top corners to make a house shape. Make more in a variety of shapes and sizes. I have 2 that are about the same shape and longer than all the others. I cut 2 rectangles for the sides. We are going to use this for the center of our structure and hang on to many of those leftover cut pieces. I divided the houses into 3 groups: large, medium, and small. Large will be the smallest, medium will have a little bit more, and small needs the most. Use a white gel pen to decorate the little houses. We can add a door, a little doorknob, maybe a little window over to the side, and they don't have to be perfect. I think that's part of the charm. Let's add some cute little hearts, maybe a few little icicles under the windows, line the edges, and add more icicles to the roof. To test out our gingerbread house decorating skills, I totally suggest trying it out first on some leftover paper, then move on to the little houses.
Every time the snow is falling down and it is cold outside, we gather around the fireplace and no one cares about yesterday. My favorite holiday, it means so much more than words can say, and I claim
All of my small houses have been decorated. I tried to do a nice little variety of different styles. For my medium-sized houses, I take my smallest house from the small houses and draw a line right at the corner of the house. Repeat for all of the others in that group, and this is where we are going to start drawing our details. So far, so good. And this is kind of time consuming, but I think it's kind of fun. Let's take a quick break from decorating our houses and take some of our scraps, tear them into smaller pieces, and add them to a little bit of water. Mix it up to make a pulp. Squeeze off the excess water. Shape it to look like dough. Cut a coffee stir. Sand the sides to make something that looks like a wooden spoon. Place the wet paper into the bowl, and we can put our spoon in the bowl or on the side and allow it to dry. Now back to decorating. Once the second group is complete, take the shortest house, match it up with the houses from the last group, which should be the tallest houses. Draw a line at the corner and begin decorating them. Now we can start assembling our gingerbread house. Let's take a little more paper, cut a few large squares, then stack and glue them together. This will be the base for our gingerbread house. Let's start with the large group, and we're gonna glue them together. The largest group combined to make an actual 3D gingerbread house. I need to cut a few more layers of cardstock that we can stack and glue together, fold in the center to make a little roof. Decorate it, then glue it on top. Let's glue this in the center of our base, and I'm gonna just turn it a little bit, giving us an angle where we can see a little more dimension from the house. Let's take those little corner pieces we cut off of our houses earlier, and we're gonna glue them onto the back, like we're making a picture frame. I used a little hot glue to attach it, and now our little gingerbread cookie house can stand on its own. I do want my houses to stand straight up, so I had to pay attention to that before it dries. And my triangle is a little long and it's gonna put a lot of space between my levels, so I might have to trim a few for my design. Plan out where you want them to go, then begin gluing them in place. There's a little bit of space there, but I want them kind of clustered together. We have done the tall group of houses and the medium group. Now we can add the smaller ones. I'm still trying to keep everything pretty close together, so it looks like a cluster of houses. I've glued down all of my houses, and I'm liking where this is going. I think we could use a little something extra. Let's cut a few more thin strips of cardstock, stack and glue them together, cut triangles, and let's decorate them to look like trees. And we're gonna glue those in just to fill in some of the gaps. And I'm gonna add a few smaller ones in front. And our Pinterest-inspired gingerbread house, or I guess you could call it a village, is complete. But we can always take it a step further. Let's take a little baking soda, and I'm gonna mix it into this recycled plastic thing here. Then we're gonna add a little white acrylic paint to it. Mix well to make what should look like icing. Now, since we're using baking soda, it might look a little gritty, so if you want something smoother, you can go with cornstarch. I just like baking soda, so that's what I'm using. Once you notice it kind of stays where you put it, it's good to go. I'm just going to add this onto our little gingerbread structure like icing. And yes, I'm covering up the detail on the roof just because I'd rather have the texture. Then I start adding it to the top of all of our little houses. It dries pretty quickly, so you might want to make it in small batches while applying, or you'll have to just keep applying more paint to it while using it. So now we're going to add some to the bottom to kind of look like snow. And we're going to just fill in the whole bottom area with this mixture. Ah, that looks so good! Okay, now we just have to allow it to dry. And our dolls have the ultimate gingerbread house for the holidays. Made out of paper, And we made a little baking set, so it looks like they are the ones who made it. My dough does look a little sus. I covered it with a thin layer of nail polish to give it a shine. Now it's just kind of really dark, but you know, we were recycling scraps, so it is what it is. I probably should have used a lighter color, but then that wouldn't have been recycling, so I think it will be fine for our photos. If not, well, then we'll just know for next time. When it comes to making like cookies, especially like gingerbread cookies for our dolls, cutting some of the shapes can be a little difficult, like the shape of a traditional gingerbread man. Which is why I love this project, because all we did was cut a bunch of different houses and then glued them together to make this cluster village giant mansion type thing. We don't have to be super neat with the details. All the imperfections help to make it look a little more authentic. And it's going to look great in the dollhouse. Thank you for joining us while we made our dolls the ultimate Pinterest-inspired gingerbread house. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Instagram at MyFroggyStuff and the Frog Vlog. And we will see you next time. Bye! Collectors, hobbyists, fabs, and besties. Some of you have wanted to know where this backdrop came from. We made it in our Princess Switch 3 video. Now on to today's video. This time of year, I am crazy about advent calendars, as you can tell from my more recent videos. So I was thinking, why not make a hidden doll room advent calendar? So that's what we're gonna do. For this project, we are using foam board. My foam board measures 20 by 30 inches. On the 30-inch side, I measure up 13 inches and cut going straight across the top. So I have a 13 by 30-inch board. Measure over 11.5 inches on the sides. I'm gonna make a little mark, score on the line, being careful not to cut all the way through so the board can bend. Repeat on the other side to make a trifold. I'm thinking on this wall we build a shelving unit, and that's where the advent calendar will be. So let's take the leftover foam board, cut a floor that can fit inside the trifold, and let's cut out a window. I cut an 8 by 3 inch window right in the center of the back wall, so we can play with light. Let's cover the walls with a pink paper. I'm using a glue stick to attach the paper. I have about an inch of white at the bottom, and I'm just gonna leave it there. And let's go ahead and cover the outside of the room. I went with a white brick on one side, and let's do a snow scene on the other. I got this picture from a calendar, and I glued it to black paper first so we wouldn't see the lines through the image. Now we can glue it onto the side wall, giving us a scenic background for photos. On the inside, let's cover the floor with a wood grain paper, then glue it into the room. Take more foam board, cut 1.5 inch strips. I cut a few rectangles at 1 3/4 by 1.5, and we're gonna just glue them onto some longer strips. Make more. I cut a 1/2 inch strip that I'm going to glue underneath. I cut another long strip, and I'm gonna glue it to one side. Then glue in the next row, continue all the way up, then close the other side with another strip to make a large cube shelf that we can glue to the wall. But before I glue it in place, cut clear plastic from packaging, glue or tape it behind the cutout, trim it with strips to frame the window. Let's glue in the cube shelf, cut another piece of foam board, and cover it with the same wood grain paper as we did for the floor earlier. Glue baseboards to the bottom of the wall, making sure that the floor can fit underneath them, giving us a floor extension. Take leftover foam board, cut a 4 by 10.5 inch rectangle. I cut a few 2-inch strips, and we're gonna glue them around the outside edge. To make a box, I cut another piece to fit the top, 2 pieces for the sides, and a long piece to go across the back. Let's cover all of the pieces with paper. I'm going with a wood grain. I only need to cover the front of the box because we're gonna just cover the sides anyway. For the piece that goes on top, let's score the other side about 1 inch from the edge so it can bend, and I'm gonna glue it down only on this side, right in the back. So now we have a box with a lid. Glue on the sides, then glue the last piece in the back. To make a daybed with hidden storage, I cut felt, cover it with fabric, and I'm just gluing this down to save a little time. To make a cushion to go on top, I stacked 5 layers of felt and glued them together. Cover them with fabric to make back pillows for our daybed. Now the basic construction for our room is complete. Now for the advent calendar part. I take cardstock and score it with 1.5 inch lines, making a grid pattern. We have 2 choices here. We can cut on the line to get 9 of those squares, make 2 small cuts on each side at the top and bottom, then fold on the lines, overlap 2 of the squares, then bring up the bottom and glue it in place. Repeat on the other side to make a cube. We can place the cube into the shelf, and this is where we can hide our daily surprises for our advent calendar. We can print out printables, like our printable cell phone, then include a few pieces of cardstock, place them into the box for a daily craft surprise. The second option is cut out only 3 of the squares, fold on the lines to make a small trifold. I printed out our bookcase printable, cut a small piece to glue onto the front, and place it onto the shelf. Then we can pre-make our crafts, place them into the shelves, and hide it behind the book trifold. These are a lot faster than the boxes, and when the whole wall is filled, it adds a lot of interest to this space. We can make small ornaments to place on the shelves. What about a decorative pillow? It's 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch, so it's pretty small, and it still fits? Yeah, kinda. We can see it a little bit, but the busyness of the shelves help to hide it. We can hide books with pages, our miniature tea boxes, a sketchbook. What about our paper Nikes? Do they fit? Looks like a yes. If you are making this for a friend, it might be a good time to give away a few doubles, like Candlehead. Now, this room could be used for anything, but because this is an advent calendar, let's give it a little holiday vibe. Twist pipe cleaners around a wooden dowel, add some lights to make a tree. We can make the tree small enough to fit under the couch when not in use. Gotta think about storage. Let's add a few pillows. I cut a little cardstock for a rug. Taking ideas from one of our Christmas rooms from last year, we can glue greenery onto a piece of foam board, add our hot glue candles, and place it on top of the bookcase. Add a few bulbs to the tree. Use pipe cleaners for a garland. I have a wreath that I made last year, and we can attach that to the wall, creating an advent calendar that our dolls can live in. And for 25 days, we can come over to the bookcase and look behind a set of books to find a surprise. 3D printed mugs. These will come in handy. We can have surprises that help to decorate the room, like our easy no-sew stockings that we can attach to the walls, maybe a paper houseplant or two to go on an ottoman, or even one of our hot glue dogs to keep our dog company, as well as tiny accent pillows and whatever else you can create. And as an added bonus, it's reusable for next year. Thank you for joining us while we made an advent calendar in a hidden doll room. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Instagram at MyFroggyStuff, the Frog Vlog, and Bella of MyFroggyStuff. And we will see you next time. Bye!
Lights up, 'tis the season. Need no French tights, no Ebenezer. Don't believe this. Y'all need Jesus. Sleigh bells ringing, diamonds blinging, carols singing. Favorite season, sleigh bells ringing.
What's up, doll collectors, hobbyists, fabs, and besties? Once again, we are in our advent calendar room, featuring a sign from Stylishly Tiny. And since we are in our advent calendar room, I thought it was time to put stuff in the calendar. Barbie recently came out with a 12 Days of Christmas advent calendar. It came with a doll and a lot of fun stuff, including 2 outfits and other holiday items. So let's try to craft our own 12 Days of Christmas advent calendar stuff. Barbie has this gold dress. Let's make something inspired by that. I picked up this pink and gold ribbon at Michael's. It's 3.5 inches wide and has a wire. I cut 2 pieces that are 7 inches long. I fold one in half, cut on the fold, lay them on top of the other piece of ribbon, securing them with pins, sew a line near the edge, connecting the 3 pieces together. Carefully trim off the wire, take one of the sides and fold it back, cut a piece of Velcro, pull it apart, move down about 1/2 inch and sew on the Velcro. Open the other side and sew on the other half of the Velcro. So when we reverse it, we should be able to close it up using the Velcro. Yay! I zigzag all the edges to stop it from fraying, fold over and hem the top and bottom. I tried to do a little bit of a curve on the top. Place it on a doll with the good side facing out. Grab the fabric at the waist and we're going to just kind of pinch it. Sew it together to make a very simple dress. I think I'm going to take it up a little at the bottom so it's above the knee. I add a few darts in the back just to help it to fit a little better on the top. Okay, much better. I take a small piece of ribbon and fold it in half, draw a small rectangle and sew along the line, leaving a small opening in the center. Trim off the excess, flip it inside out to make a small rectangle. I cut a strip that's a little less than 1 inch wide and 5 inches long. Zigzag stitch the edges, then fold them over and hem both sides. I trimmed it to 4.5 inches because it was a little too long, and now I'm adding Velcro to the ends. To make a belt, sew the rectangle to the center, pinching it in the center to make a bow. Place it around the doll's waist to add a little something extra to the dress. It's a very simple dress, and of course you can use fabric. I just use ribbon because that's what I had available. And I'm trying to make everything match. For the next project, I place the dress on my doll and take a picture. Let's do a little light editing, then print it out. Let's cut them out to be a miniature holiday card for the dolls. Which reminds me, this is an advent calendar room, so all of our projects need to fit in the calendar. The card will definitely fit. Remove the books, Place the card inside, then replace the books. The dress has to fit into a cubby too. So let's fold it and place it in one of the boxes. It's barely staying. Okay, we do need to keep that in mind. Or we can just make one craft every day for 12 days. Defeats the purpose of this whole shelf, but it gives us the liberty to make whatever we want. And I like those rules better. So on the first day of Christmas, I gave to my dolly a dress. On the second day of Christmas, I gave to my dolly a holiday card. Let's take some recycled paperboard and roll it into a cone. Glue it down. I used hot glue. Trim it to make a cone. Cut a wooden dowel, glue it into the cone. Then starting at the bottom, I begin to add layers of hot glue. I use the nozzle to carve lines. Continue adding layers, going all the way to the top. On a silicone mat, let's make a large circle of glue. Give it a few moments to dry a little, and then place the wooden dowel in the glue. Hold it straight until it dries. When we remove it, we now have a little base for our tree. Let's add a few circles or drops all over the tree. Let's paint it. I'm going with green. It took a couple of coats and I allowed it to dry. Then let's add a little white paint just on the little levels and our little drops. Paint the little drops. I made a little star out of hot glue, glue it on top, add a little glitter nail polish. So on the third day of Christmas, we can give to our dollies a holiday tree. Let's take a fuzzy yarn and crochet. This is kind of difficult because it's so puffy. But we're just going to crochet a chain, and this is going to be probably about 2.5 inches. Then let's do a single crochet. I think that's what it's called. Is it a single or a double? I don't really know crochet language, but this is what I'm doing. And we're gonna just make a large rectangle. Yeah. To make a strip, that's about 7 inches. I sew a hook and eye on the top corner. So on the 4th day of Christmas, I give to my dolly a stole. We can position it so it can be worn a number of different ways, so Mini Toya can be cozy on her way to the next holiday party. On the 5th day of Christmas, I made a second one because, we had this yarn already. And this time I sewed the ends together. So we have a little hole in the center to make a muff. Ooh, so vintage. Let's take more of that ribbon. I cut a piece that is 8 inches long, and I cut the ribbon to 2 inches. I zigzag the edges to prevent them from unraveling. Then I fold over and hem it on the 2 longest sides. Then flip it so the good side is facing up. Grab the ends, and we're gonna sew them together. To make a circle, flatten the circle with the seam in the center. Sew a line about 3/4 of an inch across, connecting them in the center. Flip it right side out. Place it on the doll so the arms go through the little openings. And on the 6th day of Christmas, we made for our dolly a shrug. Let's take more of that ribbon. Place a sticky note on top. Mine is 3 by 3 inches. Cut out 2. Lay them good side to good side. Sew a straight line around the edge, leaving an opening so it can be flipped. Add fluff. Sew the opening closed. So on the 7th day of Christmas, we made for our dollies pillows. Let's work a little more with hot glue. So I lay down my silicone mat, make round, that was totally not it. That was make round drops of glue, allow it to cool, and then I add another drop of glue right next to it. Maybe we can add some little arms onto this one. I made a little painting stand using foam board and pens. I carefully place the glue onto the pens, paint them brown. I tap the edges with the paint to try to add a little texture. Use paint for icing to make them look like little snowmen. While waiting for them to dry, I cut circles out of cardstock, glue them together. I place it on a stencil to indent it and make the shape of a plate. Paint a little decoration, then seal it with clear nail polish once it dries to give the plate a shine. And on the 8th day of Christmas, we made for our dollies a plate of gingerbread snowman cookies. But they still need to dry, so we'll just let them stay separate for now. And let's work on something easy. I made a quick little printable with a bag, card, magazine, and a letter. We already made the card in this video, but these two are for you. And with this mini card, we can fold it in half so it can stand. Let's cut out the magazine cover. That's a easy one. Glue it onto leftover cardstock from the plate, cut it out, and repeat a few more times to make a quick little magazine for the coffee table. I made another one and printed it on photo paper, and it came out a lot more clear. On the 9th day of Christmas, I made for my dolly room clutter. Speaking of room clutter, our inspo advent calendar looks like it has a letter and a pencil. So I included a quick little letter on our printable that we can cut out, glue onto cardstock. For a quick letter, you could choose to write a letter to Santa. I chose online stores. What? They have deliveries to make too. I place it onto a piece of paper, and then we're going to just fold and crease the paper around it. Lightly sketch little triangles out to the sides. Cut it out. Erase any pencil marks. Then fold in the sides. Fold the bottom up, and we're going to glue that down to make an envelope for the letter. Cut a toothpick. Paint it to look like a pencil so the doll can write the letter. On the 10th day of Christmas, we made for our dolly more table clutter. Okay, we need to do something a little more. Cut a 1/2-inch strip of paper from the side of the printable, fold it in half, cut it into 2 pieces, wrap it around something round, and glue it down to make a paper tube. Glue it onto cardstock, glue on strips of paper for a handle. I use hot glue to add a little drop. Paint a little snowman face. Seal it with nail polish and allow it to dry. So on the 11th day of Christmas, we made for our dollies snowman mugs. On the printable, we still have a gift bag to make. Let's cut it out. Fold on the lines. Fold over and glue down the top. Glue on ribbon or cording for handles. Then glue the side to the side tab. Fold in and glue down the bottom tabs. I added a little ribbon and a gift tag. Glue pom-poms together to make a little stuffed bear. Add a bow to make a little bear to go in the gift bag. Add a little tissue paper. Place the pom-pom bear inside. So on the 12th day of Christmas, we made for our dollies a gift to go under the tree. And that's 12 Days of Crafts, inspired by Barbie's 12 Days of Christmas Advent Calendar. Thank you for joining us for another holiday craft video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Instagram at MyFroggyStuff, the Frog Vlog, and Bella of MyFroggyStuff. And we will see you next time. Bye!
Sleigh bells ringing, diamonds blinging, carols singing, favorite season. They said sing Nick, what you got up in that bag, yeah. I got racks in my sack or in my bag, yeah. They said Saint Nick, what you got up in that.
Boy, it is freezing outside, which means we need to make a miniature coat. I've been working on this pattern for a long winter coat, and I will make my pattern available on our blog, MyFroggyStuff.blogspot.com. Now keep in mind, these are homemade patterns, so some imperfections may and do exist. To make my coat, I'm using a faux suede. It has 0 stretch. Start by cutting out the pattern. It has a total of 7 pieces, some of which are cut twice, like the sleeve, the front of the coat, the pockets, and the optional cuff, and the interfacing. Place them onto the fabric. My fabric is folded over. I use pins to secure it. Carefully cut it out, cutting through both layers of the material, so I get 2, and they will be mirror images of each other. Cut out the back. We only need 1 of those. The sleeve has to be cut on a fold so that when you open it up, you get the, if I can open it, you get the full size of the sleeve. Cut 2. So there's the front, the back, and the 2 sleeves. Cut 2 of the interfacing. These will go in the front. Oh, wait, it has to be reverse. Like that. And like that. We cut 2 of the optional cuffs. This is if you need to make sure the arms are longer. However, if you have a shorter doll, then you might want to leave the cuff off. This is the collar and 2 pockets. Now that we have all of our pieces, we can begin to sew, starting with the pockets. This fabric doesn't unravel, so I'm not going to worry about folding over the edge of everything. However, if your fabric does fray, you're going to need to add a seam allowance, then fold over the top and sew a straight line across. Since mine doesn't fray, I'm just going to sew a straight line across. Repeat for the other pocket. Let's set these off to the side. Place the pockets onto the front of the coat with the sewn edge facing the top. Carefully place a doll on the coat, trying to line it up at the shoulders, and I just want to make sure the hand will fit inside the pocket. Use a pin to hold it in place. Line up the second pocket so they are parallel. Sew down one side, across the bottom, and up the other side, leaving the top open. Trim off the excess thread and repeat for the other pocket. Now that both pockets are sewn on, it's time to attach the sleeves. Line them up, flip the sleeve over, lining up those raw edges. Sew a straight line going across. So when I flip it over, they're sewn together. Repeat for the other arm, so we have both sleeves attached to both fronts. Take the back of the coat, match it up with one of the sleeves on the other side, flip it over, lining up the raw edge. The raw edge of the sleeve is lined up with the raw edge of the back of the coat. Sew a straight line to attach the back of the coat. Take the other side, flip the sleeve and the front over, lining up the raw edge. Sew a straight line going across to attach the other side. Now it kind of makes a star. Take the collar, fold it in half so the good side is on the inside. This is the folded edge. Here we have the raw edges. On the raw edge, I'm going to go over about 1/4 of an inch, then angle all the way to the corner using my sewing machine. Repeat for the other side, flip it inside out, taking care to push out the corners. Find the center of the coat by folding the back in half, make a little crease. Find the center of the collar by folding it in half, make a crease. Line up the centers on the raw edges. We have to pull this part of the jacket over so that it makes a straight line. Use pins to secure it. And this is probably the trickiest part of the whole coat, because after we pin down the collar, take the interfacing, which are these little weird shape pieces, match them up with the raw edge on the front panel so that good side is facing good side. See? Good side to good side. you'll see that the top of the coat goes out at an angle a little. That will all become a part of the lapel. But this little piece here needs to match up with the collar and the top of the coat. So I carefully remove the pin and then put it back in, but this time attaching to the interfacing. It is pretty thick through here. We have a lot of layers. Repeat for the other side. So it should look like this. And we're using pins to hold everything in place. Now starting at the bottom, right here in this corner, sew a straight line going across, then go up to the top of the coat, around the collar, come down the other side, and back across, using a straight stitch. Before I remove the pins, double check that everything was caught in the machine. I want to make sure everything was sewn and I don't have any little gaps. I'm good, so now I can remove my pins. If you wish to attach cuffs, now is the time to do it. Take the fabric, fold it in half so the good side is on the outside, line up the raw edges, and sew a line going straight across to attach the cuff. Or we can just take it, flip it over so the good side's facing down, fold it over, and sew a straight line across the top. To hem it, repeat for the other side. Once both sleeves have been hemmed, fold the whole thing in half, lining up the edges of the sleeve and the sides of the coat. I flipped it over so the front is facing up. Use pins to secure it, then sew a straight line from the hem on the arm all the way down to the bottom. Repeat for the other side. Once it's all been sewn, flip it right side out, push out the sleeves, flip over the interfacing, fold up the bottom edge, sew a straight line going all the way across to hem it, then follow all the way around the edge of the coat, going up the front to the lapel, around the collar, and then all the way back down. To top stitch it so everything lays flat. Fold back and iron the lapel. Add a faux button to the front for a little extra detail. If you want it to really close, just sew a hook behind the button and a loop of thread on the other side. Then just slide the hook through the thread to close the coat. And now we have miniature coats for the winter. I sewed this one with the cuffs. It makes the sleeves longer, so it's long enough for dolls with longer arms like Integrity Toys. The one without the cuffs is a better match for signature Barbies. This coat looks great with our sweatsuits. Just place the hood over the back of the collar and you're good to go. And this coat is pretty long, so yeah, they're gonna be nice and toasty. Thank you for joining us while we made a miniature coat. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Instagram at MyFroggyStuff and the Frog Vlog. And you're done.
Happy crafting!
Today we're going to set up a giant winter scene so we can take some really fun pics. When I was at Target the other day, the main thing they had was a bunch of trees, which gave me the idea to make a winter scene. So I picked up a few, then a few more, and a few more. Okay, wow, that's a lot of trees. When we're making a scene, diorama, or a set, we have to start with the background. Michaels has sky posters. They are really light, so they will make the perfect snowy sky. Together, they span almost the whole length of my table. I'm going to put them on the walls using a little Insta-Tacky or poster putty. This stuff is reusable, and it should come off the walls without leaving a mark. I say should because I had one situation where it actually pulled the paint off my wall. Wasn't really happy about that, but it only happened one time. Place it on the back corners of the poster. Then attach it to the wall. We have a center seam, which I am not loving, but perhaps we can cover that later. This is Village Snow Roll. It feels pretty much like pillow fluff, but it does roll out into a nice long sheet. Right now, I'm thinking more clouds than snow. I think we need a few hills here and there. Take a box, place it underneath the snow, add more snow to make our background. Take the trees, place them on the snow, covering up the base. There is a lot of white here, so the more trees we can add, the better. I start by filling in the back. I want to keep the center kind of clear because that's where I will mainly place my dolls for taking photos. So I'm placing the trees in a semicircle around that space. But we need a couple near the front to interrupt the scene. I just make a little hole in the snow to plant my tree. It's like the best way to garden. Let's add a few smaller trees. And let's try one with a different type of branch for a little variety. I found this windmill at Michael's. It's totally the wrong scale, but if we put it in the back of the scene, it might look like it's very far away, giving the illusion that our set is bigger than it is. I'm going to add some smaller trees around the windmill to try and sell the illusion. With a scene like this, we're looking for interesting angles, like little pathways through the trees, or maybe an area that's kind of congested, so it looks like there's a lot going on in the scene. Remove the tree in the front so we can add larger items like this sleigh. I picked up a knit stocking from Five Below. This cost $4. I place my doll inside of the stocking, then put them in the sleigh. Add some pillows to the back so they're nice and comfy, so it looks like our doll is on a sleigh ride. Add 2 dolls and leather cording, so it looks like there is a horse or a reindeer pulling the sleigh. And of course, we can always place a model horse right in front to give the full effect. When I take a photo, I like to have a little something interrupting the scene. So I take one of the trees and then just put it close to the camera, and it'll look kind of blurred while everything behind it is focused. And now it looks like they're riding between the trees. We can use the indoor snowballs we found at Target to make it look like we're building a miniature snowman. The balancing does take a little bit of work, but we got it. If we need our snowman to be taller, just add a box underneath the snow, then build the snowman on top of the box. The box will give our figure something to lean against so they can stand for the photo. Add a couple of twigs. I painted sewing pins black so I can use them for eyes, a mouth, and a few buttons down the front. I'm fresh out of carrots, so I'm using an orange push pin for a nose to make our cute little snowman. However, there's a lot of white here, and sometimes that can get lost in the photos. So when I'm dealing with things that have a lot of bright colors or white and they just look kind of muted, you have to cast a shadow. See, so I'm using my hand to cast a shadow on the side of the snowman, which makes him a lot more visible. A lot of times I'll just use a plain piece of white paper to block some of my lights, and that really helps out. Speaking of lights, if I would like to change this to a winter night scene, then I switch out the blue sky with this galaxy print from Michael's to go from day to night. This is a really fun background. There's a lot we can do with it, and it's pretty simple to make. All of our trees came from Target, our snow came from Michael's. You could also use a white blanket or pillow fluff. And when we're finished with our scene, we'll store everything in a large plastic container. And if we place a window in front of it, it makes a great view. Thank you for joining us while we set up our winter scene. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Instagram at MyFroggyStuff and the Frog Vlog. And you're done.
Happy crafting!
Under the mistletoe, we're We're Santa's little helpers, we make all the toys, the trinkets for the girls and the trucks for the boys. We're Santa's little helpers, we know every trick, 'cause we wrote the book on old Saint Nick.
After making snow cones from our frozen freefall video, we think it'll be fun to use the same ideas to make a doll snowman using toilet paper, recycled paper, twigs, glitter, a sock, felt, a needle and thread, acrylic paint, and glue. I start by balling up some recycled computer paper, adding layers of paper to make it larger. As I get to the last few layers, I use glue to help them stick in place. Make more in different sizes, stack and glue them together, lightly brush with glue, and apply layers of toilet paper. This will help to fill in the gaps and wrinkles from the paper. Once dried, apply glue and glitter. Roll a paper cone, cut it down to size, fill the inside with toilet paper, paint it orange, bend it to add texture, make small rolls of paper, paint them black, glue them on to make the face. Glue twigs out to the sides. I can also make a small hole in the side to give the twig more support. Cut off the top of a sock, sew around the top edge with a straight stitch, then pull the thread together. To make a hat, cut a strip from the leftover sock for a scarf. Or we can make a felt hat from our How to Make a Doll Fedora video for a different look. Adjust the size to fit your doll or to make snowballs. And you're done.
Happy crafting! Everybody smiling while we dance around the floor. If I could, I wish for you to spend Christmas here. When Christmas is the time to set your mind and spirit free. Everybody smiling while we decorate the tree. If I could, I wish for you to spend Christmas here with me.
Merry Christmas! We hope you all had a fabulous Christmas morning, opening lots of presents and getting boxes. Today we are going to do our last Christmas craft for 2019 using gift boxes. Our gift box comes with two sides, so we get to make two different scenes. Let's make the first one an easy one. Start by taking one half of a gift box, find scrapbook paper with a winter scene, recycled cardboard, and white paper. Measure the sides of the box. This one is 4 inches deep and 19 inches long. Use those measurements to draw rectangles on recycled cardboard. Cut on the lines drawn. I cut 2 for the top and bottom, then cut 2 for the sides, and these are 14 inches long. Cover them with white paper. I'm using a glue stick, and I'm pretty generous with the glue. Flip it over, trim the corners to make tabs that we can fold over and glue down. Glue the covered cardboard into the box to make the box stronger. Take the scrapbook paper and glue it into the box. I have 3 pieces of the same print, so I glue one in the middle. I cut the sled off of the other 2 and glue them onto the sides. I do have a few seams here, so I take a scrapbook paper that looks like the bark of a birch tree, cut it into 4-inch pieces, roll them around a wooden dowel, using glue to secure the ends. Remove the wooden dowel to make a paper tube, then glue it onto the wall to cover the seam. The color is off just a little, but maybe if we add a few more birch trees, it'll all just blend in. My scrapbook paper wasn't long enough to cover the entire back of the box, so we have a little space right here. I'm just going to use a little bit of white paper to clean up the bottom. Add a few more trees. This one is off the wall to create some dimension. And it allows us to place the dolls behind the trees. Take some fluff and let's just glue that into the bottom of the box. I added 2 more on the sides to frame it out. This is a very easy backdrop where we can take some great wintertime photos. For a little something extra, take a piece of white paper, roll it around a wooden dowel, use glue to secure the end, add more pieces of paper to make it thicker. I'm going to cut this down to size just a little. Cut a small piece of cardboard, cut red paper into thin strips, glue it going around the paper tube. Take a large red bead and gold buttons, glue a button onto the end of the paper tube, add another button, then the bead, add a rounded button on the end to close the other side of the bead, glue the end of the paper tube onto the cardboard, cut a rectangle of recycled paperboard, stack and glue several together, take acrylic paint, paint the paperboard green, allow it to dry, sketch out a design with a pencil, go over it with white paint, glue it onto the paper tube, place it in the box to make the North Pole. Now let's make something using the other side of the box. Cut more cardboard to fit inside the box. I cover the one for the floor with a brown wood grain scrapbook paper. I used a light colored wood for the ceiling and another wood grain on the walls. Cover the back of the box to match the walls. Glue the covered cardboard into the box to make the basic room. Cut leftover cardboard into small rectangles. Cover with paper. Glue them onto the ceiling to make rafters. Take leftover cardboard, place the box on top, trace around it, remove the box, then add a roof to the drawing. Draw a line on the inside of the box. Cut on the lines drawn to make a partial frame. Cover with scrapbook paper. Go around the edges with thin strips of paper to make a frame for the outside of the box. But before we glue this in place, measure and cut leftover cardboard, cover it with paper, glue several pieces together. I have 2 rectangular blocks on the sides, a top, add a small piece right here, glue it into the box, glue small pieces on front, glue on small bells to make a workstation. Take the leftover scrapbook paper from our outdoor scene, cut it down, and glue it onto the wall. Cut some recycled plastic from a holiday gift, glue it over the picture, glue covered cardboard around it to make a window. Glue covered cardboard into the corners for shelves. Take a covered rectangle, glue a few rectangles on the front, glue it into the corner, add a triangle on top, add a few more triangles right above it, add a few bells to make a corner shelving unit. Now we can glue on the front, glue on covered cardboard for baseboards. Let's add some matching paper to the corner and strips of cardboard to add a little more detail to our corner storage unit. Our 2019 holiday card is available on our blog, myfroggystuff.blogspot.com. I'm gonna cut these out, fold over the bottom, fold over the sides, add a little glue to make the sides stick, then fold over the top to make a mini envelope. Cut out the card, fold it in half, apply glue on the inside, press down firmly, then fold it in half on the line to make a little card with a message from us that can fit inside of the envelope. Make several and place them on the corner shelf. Take leftover wrapping paper from presents, roll it around a wooden dowel, secure the end with glue to make a miniature roll of wrapping paper. We also have printable wrapping paper on our blog. Wrap cardboard or foam to look like presents. Use buttons for small toys. I found this miniature snow globe on clearance at the craft store. We found these miniature tools at Michael's and this miniature clock. I'm gonna glue it right here on the wall. Cut craft sticks and glue them together to make a little house. Place a tool right next to it, and we can add a small bucket of paint from our paint splatter room, so it looks like someone has been making toys. I found more printable letters from our holiday crafts from last year. We're gonna set this right on the side. I want it to look like they're overflowing with mail. Add our elf on a shelf from previous videos. They are posable so you can move them all around. Add one of our paper tube chairs, a Christmas tree, add a wreath above the window, cut a long strip of construction paper, write names going all the way down, roll the top, then let the rest fall down to the floor. Run some miniature lights across the top. I'm using a necklace that's no longer working to make a little Santa's workshop. We've got a tree, we've got elves, we have a list for who's naughty and who's nice, toys being made, toys being wrapped, and of course an area for all of Santa's mail, giving us a cute little display from our recycled gift boxes. I like how the scene in the window is the same as our outdoor scene, so it looks like we can go outside in the snow, then inside of Santa's workshop. Thank you for joining us for our last Christmas craft of 2019, and we hope you all have or had a Merry Christmas. Bye! Going to make a gingerbread house for a doll using a cereal box, cardboard, white paper, white glue sticks, hot glue. Always have adult supervision when working with hot objects, paint, scrapbook paper, glitter, and glue. I start by taking a large cereal box. And this cereal box is a little short for our doll, but that's okay because for this project we're going to add on. I cut off the top tabs and down one side so the box can open up. Cut out a window, cover the raw edges with white paper. Around the window, cover the inside walls with scrapbook paper and the floor. Add trim for the baseboards and around the window. On the outside of the box, cover the corners with white paper and around all possible visible edges. Place the box on cardboard, very neatly trace around the edge, extending the top to make a roof. Cut it out, cut another one for the back of the box, two for the walls, the main roof, a doorway, cut out the window, and cut out a pair of shutters. And since gingerbread is brown, we're going to leave the cardboard in its natural color. Begin gluing it onto the outside of the box, covering the exposed cardboard on the inside as I go. Cover the edge of the window with paper, then glue it onto the box, making sure that the side can still open and close. Glue on the sides, and before gluing on the doorway, I cut some thin strips. I glue them to the inside edge so that it will be 3D when attached to the box. However, before I attach it, I draw on the details of the door, paint over the lines drawn, followed by glue and glitter. Or I can trace over the lines with colored hot glue. Carefully glue on the door frame, followed by two pieces for a roof. Glue on the big roof, add thin strips to the other roof and the shutters. Roll paper tubes and glue on strips of red paper. And if I do not have red paper, then I can always use paint. Glue them into the corners. Now it's time to decorate the rest of the house with hot glue to look like icing. And I'm using a white glue stick that I found at the craft store. However, if white glue sticks were not available, then I could use clear and paint it white. I lightly sketch a design, then I go over it with the hot glue. I use the glue to cover raw edges and add designs. I even went back over the lines of the door because I like the puffy look. Make dots by adding a drop of glue, then making a little swirl until it comes off. I add mounds of glue to look like the icing is dripping, and I like to apply the glue in layers, starting out with a thin line and allowing them to kind of just flow down. Once dried, I go back over it again, and this creates a lot of texture. Then have fun adding more detail. We even use some glue on the inside. Now that our gingerbread house is complete, we can take it a step further and use Christmas decorations for more detail. On the inside of the house, we add our antique stove from a previous video, glue together paper tubes and cardboard to make a table to hold our doll-sized gingerbread house from a previous video. Use leftover paper tubes and cardboard to make a shelf to display other yummy craft projects. We made a smaller table that can also be used as a stool. Trays from our doll lunchroom can be used as a cookie sheet with cookie buttons. And when playtime is over, everything can be neatly stacked inside until next time. And you're done.
Happy crafting!
Are some quick crafts for the holidays. I'm gonna make festive headbands for our dolls using paper clips. I start by unfolding a paper clip. Measure around the doll's head from ear to ear. I'm going with 3.5 inches. Cut the paper clip down to size. Cut a rectangle of felt. Place the paper clip on the felt. Add a line of hot glue. And remember to always have adult supervision when crafting. Fold the felt over to close the paper clip on the inside. Trim off the excess. Bend it to look like a headband. Take a pipe cleaner, fold it over the headband, twist it to hold it in place. Bend and twist the pipe cleaner to form the antlers, wrapping the ends around to make a fuzzy antler. Repeat on the other side to make 2. Cut rounded triangles out of brown felt. Cut a smaller one out of white, then glue it onto the brown, fold over one side to make an ear. Glue it onto the headband, use ribbon to tie a bow, glue it onto the antler, repeat for the other side. We found some tiny bells. I'm gonna glue those onto the antlers so they can jingle. And finish our reindeer headband. Let's make another one. After unfolding the paper clip, glue on the felt, trim, and bend to make the headband. We found snowflake buttons at the craft store. Glue them to the headband. Take a piece of ribbon, fold over the sides, wrap the center with thread to make a bow. Glue it to the center. Glue a jewel to the center to make a snowflake headband. Make a green headband. Take a green tinsel pipe cleaner. Add beads. Bend it in a spiral to make a little tree. I put a yellow bead at the top, trim off the excess, glue it to the headband, touch the beads with a little bit of nail polish, dip it into glitter to make a tree headband. I found these stickers at the craft store. I think we can make a fun headband out of these. Make a red headband, peel off a sticker. These are hard plastic stickers, kind of like buttons. Glue the candy cane onto the headband. Add the holly stickers to make a candy cane headband. To make this for a larger doll, I use a larger paper clip, so they can join in on the fun too. You can get really creative with your headbands. Using beads, buttons, and stickers, you can also cut a wide triangle of felt, fold over and glue the sides down, trim the bottom to make a cone, Glue white felt around the bottom, fold it over on the seam, and glue into place. Glue a white pom-pom onto the end, glue it onto the headband, add a sticker for a Santa hat headband. Thank you for joining us while we made some holiday headbands. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Instagram at MyFroggyStuff and the Frog Vlog. And you're done.
Happy crafting!
Summer's long gone, baby. The first snow is about to fall. Everybody's waiting for what's to come. We gather round the chimney, sitting close to keep us warm. The mistletoe is hanging.
What's up, doll collectors, hobbyists, fabs, and besties? I'm Toya, an adult doll collector. Welcome to my Miniverse. Before we get started with today's video, I was reading the comments and some of you miss the Toya drinking coffee picture that we covered up with the candy canes. So I made a new one that matches our color palette. And now she's back. And both options are available on our blog. All right, now we can get started. No more distractions. Well, let's just take a minute to figure out what to do with all these empty Mini Brands capsules. I was thinking we could turn them into a few ornaments. I found some yarn in the studio. It's white yarn with a little sparkle. Let's turn on the hot glue gun. Add a drop of glue onto the capsule. Add the yarn. Hot glue is hot. You've been warned. Then just wrap the yarn around the capsule, adding little drops of glue here and there until it's covered, well, pretty much, and looks like a ball of yarn. I made a little loop at the top, unfold a paper clip, and bend it to make a hook that we can attach to the loop to make an ornament for the tree. Let's take clear plastic from packaging and cut a piece to make a long triangle. Then add a little hot glue, very carefully going all the way up. I added a thin layer of glue on both sides, allow it to cool. Then we can leave it as is or brush it with a little Mod Podge to add a little more shine. We can also use a little old nail polish. I'm using one with a little glitter, and we're just gonna add a little extra sparkle. Make another hook, make a hole at the top to run the hook through to make an icicle ornament. This year, I wanted to do something totally different with my tree and create a little Barbie winter vacay. So I wrapped my tree in those snow blankets to look like slopes. Then I added miniature trees and icicles and lots of little snowflakes. And I left a large opening in the center so we could make a ski lodge. Well, not this one. I found this one at the dollar store. Can it fit Mini Barbie Land? They're a tiny bit too tall, but it can totally work for some background photos. I want to make something similar to this decoration I found at Target. To the craft table. Let's take a piece of poster board and fold it to make a triangle. Trim off the excess to make the shape of our structure. I use it as a guide to make a second one. Now that we have two, we can sketch a large door on one with some large windows on the front. Cut out the window panes. I used an X-Acto knife. Let's take a little recycled cardboard and glue it onto the poster board. I went around the door, then I covered the other piece of poster board to make them stronger. Glue together more cardboard to make a base. I'm using 2 layers of cardboard, so it's pretty sturdy, and it's 9 inches wide, and a tiny bit longer than the bottom of our triangle. Our backdrop is going to be about 2¼ inches wide, so I drew a line to mark it. We can cover it if we think it's going to be visible, or don't worry about it. We can cover the front with paper because it will be visible. I think a wood grain scrapbook paper could be nice. We could also use a few craft sticks. If you've got a few laying around, then we just cut the ends so they're rectangles, then begin gluing them onto the cardboard, staggering them as I go, then filling in the empty spaces. Once the floor is covered, take the piece we made for the front and cover it with craft sticks as well. This is taking a minute, and yes, paper would have been faster, but this is giving us more texture. Brush it with a thin coat of paint. I'm using a chocolate brown, trying to keep it pretty light so the wood grain still comes through. Let's paint the floor to match. I take a few square wooden dowels or skinny sticks and glue them over the lines of the door and across the windows. Then paint it black. I paint a few more square wooden dowels black. Now I just have to wait for everything to dry. While waiting, let's take the other triangle of cardboard and we can leave it as is, or we can glue on wrapping paper or scrapbook paper for wallpaper, or maybe we can try gluing on a picture. I printed out a picture on my computer of the entrance of a house, and I'm going to glue it right in the center using a glue stick to attach the paper. I cut 2-inch strips of cardboard and glue them onto the inside edge, making a triangular tray on the 2 sides. Let's glue LED lights around the inside and glue the battery pack on the outside. Now that the square wooden dowels are dry, let's glue them on the outside of the door to clean up those edges. Then touch up the paint where needed. Take clear plastic from packaging and glue it behind the cutouts. Take black foam board or poster board, cut 3-inch strips, and now we can glue the whole thing together. Glue the front onto the tray, then glue it onto the base. This is feeling a tiny bit heavy, so if you want to make it lighter, I would go with scrapbook paper instead of jumbo craft sticks. Let's add the black foam board to the sides to make a quick A-frame cabin. We can add a few push pins for knobs, make a couple icicles, and glue them on under the edge of the roof. We can take a little bit of that snow blanket and cut a strip to go on top. Add a little snow around the bottom. We can add detail by using a few Christmas ornaments. I got these a while back. We can brush them with a little paint to make them blend in better, then glue them on. For lights, then it's time to find our Barbie winter gear, like a pair of skis that we can lean up against the house. We can add one of our felt doormats that we made in a previous video, so all the dolls feel welcome. Then we can grab a winter Barbie, like the Barbie snowboarder, and take her clothes so my Minnie can hit the slopes, or hang out at the cabin with a cup of hot cocoa. This cabin ended up being pretty large. I'm not sure if it's gonna be able to fit on my tree, but it'll still make a good backdrop for the rest of winter. Now let's go put this in the tree to see how it looks. And it's holding. Not too bad. Thank you for joining us while we made our little cabin or ski lodge backdrop. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Fanbase, YouTube, and Instagram at MyFroggyStuff and Bella of MyFroggyStuff on Instagram. And we will see you next time. Happy holidays! Bye!
A swinging Christmas, just like 1, 2, 3. We know the time is short. We blink and then it's gone. So we better make the most of what we've got. So take your neighbor by the hand and join the dance parade before the clock strikes and it's all too late.
What's up, Fabs and Besties? This time of year, I have to admit, I am all about the cheesy rom-com holiday movies. Whatever, no judge. And right now, I am watching The Princess Switch 3, Romancing the Star. Yep. And I might or might not have taken advantage of a little Walmart sale. Barbie extra dolls for $10. With that hair, she totally reminds me of Fiona from the movie. And with a little rerouting, I think we could make the other two. So everyone, say it with me. Off with their heads! Only 2 of the triplets need to be rerouted. However, we're going to put all 3 of them into the water, so we can remove their earrings and stuff like that. So I place them all into a plastic bag. Then I place them all into a cup of hot water. We're just going to let that sit for a minute. When the head has softened, let's go ahead and try to remove these earrings without breaking them. I feel like I'm gonna fail. Oh no! I did it! Okay, move on to the next one. Quickly. Kind of hard to grab these. Alright, I gotta squeeze her head usually. And try to pull it out. Come on. Ah, there we go. Then I can use some cuticle trimmers and just cut off the hook on the earrings and turn them into ones that can be removed. I remove the head from the dolls. I cut off the hair from 2 of them. This doll's head was completely split, so I'm just using a needle and thread to sew it back up, literally giving the doll stitches. I begin rerouting with a dark brown. Ideally, it would have been a little darker, but this is what I have, so we're using it. I went around the hairline first, and then I started filling in the center. I rooted as much as I could, but there are a few gaps because her head just kept splitting. Like after the center split, the hairline split, and yeah. So I added a whole bunch of glue to the inside of her head to try to hold the hair in place that is there. And we're gonna style her with an updo, so this hopefully will be a non-issue. I rerouted the second head with the same hair color, and this one was fine. There was no splits, it was easy. We have a nice full head of hair here. And there was no need to reroute the last head because Fiona has this super blonde hair color. So we have Margaret, Stacy, and Fiona. I hot water rinsed all the dolls. I'm not quite sure if the glue was dry, so I re-glued, and now I'm gonna let them sit like overnight. While waiting, let's make a quick little backdrop. We made these printables a few years back, and I think they're perfect for a quick holiday scene. I printed 4 pages. They are totally not printer ink friendly. Yeah, that's a lot of red ink. So you can always use scrapbook paper instead. I have a piece of foam board here, so we can make a quick little binder room or a hidden doll room. If you don't want to use foam board, you can always use cardboard instead. This foam board measures 20 by 28 inches. I make a mark at 13 inches, so I can cut the board into 2 pieces. We're not making a big room here, just a small scene for quick photos. I lay out my printables, and I can see I'm a little short. But we'll worry about that when we start to glue everything down. First, I make a mark at 12 inches from the sides and score a line, being careful not to cut all the way through so the wall can now bend. Repeat on the other side, making what looks like a wide binder. Begin covering the walls with the printables or scrapbook paper if that's what you're using. Oh, this is an old printable and my fireplace is a little crooked. So we're gonna cut a little bit of foam board and glue it onto the wall. I am trying to keep everything pretty flat here because this is just a binder room. But I can't help myself, so we're gonna stack and layer this foam board to make the fireplace a little more 3D. Hopefully that straightened it out a little. However, I did cover up some of my garland at the top, so now we have to do something about that. Let's cut a strip of green cardstock, then fold it in half. Make small cuts going all the way down on the side opposite of the fold. Once everything has been cut, we're just gonna start trying to kind of mess it up a little bit. I made more than one, and I'm gonna glue them together. Let's glue it on above the fireplace. It's not a perfect match, but it's adding some nice texture to this space. Now we need poinsettias. I made these last year. I didn't make a video. I was just playing around and cutting out paper and gluing them together. I cut out each individual little petal or leaf, and it took forever. This year, I'm going to use a hole punch. If you don't have a hole punch, you can totally cut this by hand. It'll probably even look better because this is not like a perfect poinsettia shape. I have red cardstock, green cardstock, and some beads. Cut one large flower out of the green. This paper's pretty thick. There we go. Cut one large flower out of the red cardstock, and then the smaller one out of the red as well. I use a little tacky glue. I'm using the end of a Q-tip as like a little tool to apply a little tacky glue to the center of the green. And then we're gonna place the red on top, but make sure those petals are off center a little bit if you can. Then add a little more glue to the center of the red one and glue down the smaller petals. And if you want a more full flower, bloom, whatever, just use more layers. I cut one of the beads and glue it to the center. Please forgive my nails. All this rerouting and paper folding has destroyed them, and I'm not gonna sit around and redo them, so yeah. Because there's no time! Christmas is right around the corner, and we have lots to do. Once dried, let's bend the little petals forward, or leaves. Not completely sure about the anatomy of a poinsettia. And I'm gonna take the larger ones and curl it just a little. They kind of look like lilies, but in our setting here, in the background, I think it'll work. I made a whole bunch more that need to dry, so while we're waiting, let's make a tree out of paper. I'm using a green cardstock. I have 5 pages here, and I'm going to fold each one in half. Draw a line from the corner to the end, cut on the line drawn to end up with a few triangles. We have a large one that was on the fold and then 2 smaller pieces from cutting that angle. I'm gonna make little cuts just like we did on the garland all the way down the edges. Then take the loose ones and add a little tape to the side and tape it into the center of the larger one. Repeat for the other one, and if you have that good disappearing tape, that's the best. Mine's kind of visible, but hopefully once all of the parts have been put together, you won't really notice it. That is from just one piece of cardstock, but I want my tree to be a little fuller, so I'm gonna add a few more. I made 5. It does take a little while to do all that cutting. Tape or glue them together. Our tree is standing, but it's not quite done. I want to add some lights. So here is my battery pack, and I'm going to glue the tree on top, flush with one of the sides. I glued the sides of the tree down so mine's flat in the back because we're going to glue this against the wall. Then I'm going to take the excess wire and place it right in the seam so the lights come out the top. Use tape or glue to hold it in place. Then I glue my tree onto the wall, making sure everything can still close up. You know what? I kind of want my tree to go in the corner, so I'm going to remove the glue from this side, only this side. This is why I can't keep my nail polish looking pretty. Aw, I just broke a nail. Now that side has a little more flexibility so it can handle being near a corner. Glue the tree and the battery pack to the wall, making sure we still have access to the switch so we can turn the lights off and on. We need to make the tree look a little more full, So I'm just gonna start bending the leaves or the pine needles in different directions, going all the way down. This is gonna just make it look like an actual tree. I am bending each individual triangle, and that's what's gonna just add that girth, I guess, to make everything kind of fan out and separate so that all of them don't just try to stick together. This is a pretty heavyweight cardstock. I got it at Michael's in those, like, I think it was like 100 sheets kind of pack. This can get a little cumbersome while being glued to the wall, so you might want to bend your pine needles before gluing it in place. But overall, not a bad looking paper tree. I feel like my garland is a little underwhelming next to my tree, so maybe we can make a new one, but this time let's just cut the needles longer. And I'm cutting them at a slant, just like we did for the tree. Then let's bend them. I made 2. We're gonna put those together and then just add them to the fireplace. It's definitely a lot larger, but I think it matches the tree a little better. Now I'm gonna take these lights and begin gluing them around the room. I went across the top, over the mantelpiece, and I add them to the tree, but I'm gonna go up and down and try to go between the layers, just so it doesn't look like super messy with the wires. Then I leave the tree going back around the wall, up the side, and across the top. So we have lights going all the way around the room. Let's add some beads. And just like the lights, we're taking them all over the place because we want there to be tons of decorations in this space. Now we're gonna add some bulbs because the decorations in this movie were like insane. There was stuff everywhere, tons of bulbs. It was visually absolutely beautiful. Now we can add all of our little poinsettias, which look like lilies. Everything is looking pretty festive. I think we can just use a few pictures on the wall or our hot glue frames to add a little more detail to this space. Lay down a poster or scrapbook paper to change the floor and a rug to make a holiday background for our doll photos. Speaking of dolls, our dolls are dry, so we can add a little brown acrylic paint to their eyes. I gave Fiona a red lip color, I gave Stacy a neutral color, and I toned down the pink for Margaret. This Made to Move Barbie looks like a good match, but I only have 2, so we're gonna have to make a difficult decision here. Sorry, Princess Margaret, but I put you back on the original body, then I pull the sides of her hair back by twisting them, then secured it with a rubber band. I stopped to paint my nails. I curl her hair using a curling iron. Beware, this is an easy way to burn your doll's hair out if it is too hot, or if it's a certain type of hair that doesn't do well with heat. Aw, that came out cute. I feel like this Barbie signature dress is perfect for this character. Aw, that's adorable. Let's give her a little pearl-colored purse, blue shoes, keeping things all matchy. I took the pearl earrings from the Naomi Osaka doll, and let's add a Barbie necklace to her hair, completing Princess Margaret. Oh wait, she's Queen Margaret now. Stacy, you're next. I put her on the Made to Move body and dressed her in an outfit from the Barbie Colorville advent calendar while we do her hair. I kept her hair kind of long, and I'm just gonna give her a really light little curl. Just want a little bit of texture here. I'm having to take a few artistic liberties here, keep her hair a little longer since we kept Margaret's hair kind of long. So Stacy's hair has to be even longer, and Fiona's hair will have to be even longer than that. She was wearing a few suits in the movie, so I think I'm gonna go with the Barbie style pink suit. I put her hands in her pockets, added a few more curls, black heels, And that's Stacy. Last but not least, Fiona. I'm gonna keep her hair super long, but I am gonna use a fabric marker and just darken her roots a little. Very carefully. It's running out. I put a little tape on her forehead so I wouldn't accidentally hit her skin. That works. Let's give her the Barbie Color Reveal Advent Calendar dress. Oh my goodness, yes! My whole reason for getting the Barbie Color Reveal Advent Calendar. This dress totally looks like something Fiona would wear. I pair it with Barbie looks, shoes, and some Barbie metallic earrings, completing our Princess Switch 3 trio. Overall, I like the way they turned out. We transformed 3 Barbie extra dolls that we got on sale for $10. We were able to use several pieces from the Barbie Color Reveal Advent Calendar and create our own custom dolls around the Princess Switch trilogy, which to me feels like a live-action Barbie movie for the holidays. And now all of you know that yes, I love holiday rom-coms. Thank you for joining us while we made these dolls and this festive background. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Instagram at MyFroggyStuff and the Frog Vlog. And we will see you next time. Bye!
Doesn't matter if the snow is falling or the wind blows and the rain is pouring. It will always be Christmas in my heart. But this year I wanna hang out with my friends and family, making angels in the sand you let me. Doesn't matter, it's Christmas in my heart.
What's up, Fabs and Besties? It's the end of the year and it's cold outside. Well, in some places. Christmas has just passed and New Year's is right around the corner. So let's make a cool backdrop today. No pun intended. That's all wintry with lights. In the Princess Switch 3 movie, yes, I'm still talking about that, there was this beautiful ice skating rink scene, so let's try to recreate that. We made an ice skating rink years ago. There is a video on our channel, but today we want to make one in a hidden doll room so it's easier to store. When I went to the craft store the other day, I couldn't find any single pieces of foam board. All I could find was a trifold, so that's what we're using. This trifold is 28 inches tall and 40 inches across. So we're just going to cut what we need to size it down. When open, the sides are 10 inches and then the center is 20 and then there's 10 on the other side. So we're gonna go with this 10 inch right here for one of the sides. Then we'll probably go over another 10 inches and then another 10 inches. And like most of our other rooms, we're gonna make it 13 inches tall. I mark where I need to cut, then cut on the lines drawn to get a piece of foam board that is 13 inches tall and 30 inches wide. One side of our trifold is already cut for us, so all we have to do is cut the other side. So I'm going to measure over 10 inches and score on the back so it can bend to make a smaller trifold. For the floor, I take the trifold and place it onto the leftover foam board and decide how wide I want it to be. Trace around the edge, then cut it out. Now we have our walls and our floor. I want to be able to glue the floor to the walls and still have it fold up. So turn the floor over to the other side and we're going to score a line. Not right at the corner, but a little bit over, like 3/4 of an inch from the edge, on both sides, so they can now bend. Flip it back over. The idea is when we glue it into the room, those side walls should be able to fold up so we can fold the walls in for easy storage. But we are also going to need something to help them lay back down. I draw a line where the wall meets the floor, cut 1.5-inch strips of leftover foam board for the side walls, and one that can fit between the folded floor. Paint them black. If you have black foam board, you can just use that. I don't, so I had to paint mine, and now I need to wait for it to dry. While waiting, I cover the floor with clear tape so it's shiny, and I did avoid the bends because sometimes they can bubble. On the backdrop, I want there to look like there is a snowy scene. So I printed off this picture. It's from my backyard a few years ago when it actually snowed. It's not the clearest photo, but it should do the job. I draw a line marking where the black border will go. We will also have like some curtains in the corners to hide the battery pack for the lights. So I lightly sketch that out as well. Trim the paper to fit between the lines drawn. I use a glue stick to attach the paper. Okay, I think it's starting to come together. The paper wasn't long enough to go all the way to the top, so I cut triangles out of cardstock, glue them onto string to make a little banner. I made 3 for all 3 walls, and we're gonna just put these aside. Right now, I take a piece of cardstock or poster board, and we're gonna just make a little holding case for the battery pack. For both battery packs, I glue the poster board case into the corners, run the wire across the top, then I glue the lights going up and down across the winter scene. Let's glue in the floor, being careful not to glue down the sides. My black strips are now dried. They did bow a little, but that's okay because we're going to glue them onto the wall. Make sure the ones on the side can clear the floor and just rest on top, helping to hold the sides of the floor down. Let's make sure it can still all fold up. Oops. Here we go. Yep, it still folds up. Now we just need to cover those boxes. You could always choose to glue the battery packs on the outside. That way you don't have to worry about covering them. But I like everything to stay inside my box so it fits neatly on the shelves. I'm going to make these look like curtains. However, if I just glue the curtains across the top and allow them to hang down, we will definitely see this corner from the box. So I cut a triangle of leftover foam board, and I'm going to glue it on like that, being careful to avoid the corner so it can still fold up. Then I take a tool and glue a few layers across the top, glue long pieces of tulle across the corners and the battery pack, gather it, tie with string, and glue right next to the corner in the wall. After gluing down both sides, we can trim the bottom and use a little glue to make it lay flatter. Now we can go ahead and hang our little flags across the top to get the look of a tent. The last thing we're going to do is take some wooden dowels, measure them to the length of the walls, cut on the line, then glue them onto the walls to look like a rail. And it helps to hold all of those lights in place. I stop to make sure everything can still fold up. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We have our winter scene, we have our lights, and a shiny floor to skate on. Oh yeah, check me out. I think this space could be pretty versatile. If we wanted, we could add a few dolls dressed up to create a party scene, so the dolls can ring in the new year in this winter wonderland. It could also make a nice backdrop for a winter wedding. This is the Oscar de la Renta Barbie, and I think she would make a beautiful winter bride. And skating in, here is our Fiona-inspired doll from the Princess Switch 3 movie. We've dressed her up in a little winter outfit. We made a little felt beret, the red felt coat from our Sabrina Spellman Halloween costume, a black Barbie shirt, Barbie jeans, and white Barbie ice skates. In the movie, she had a red fur coat, but you know, sometimes you gotta work with what you got. Thank you for joining us while we made an ice skating rink in a hidden doll room. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Instagram at MyFroggyStuff and the Frog Vlog. Let us know in the comments down below what you would like to see next. And we will see all of you next time. Bye! What's up, doll collectors, hobbyists, fabs, and besties? I'm Toya, an adult doll collector. Welcome to my Miniverse. This backdrop is from our Princess Switch 3 video. I wanted something festive because, thanks to a tip from our bestie Hallie on Instagram, I went back to Five Below and found Teeny Tiny's mini playset Holiday Party for $5. We're getting 20 pieces that we might be able to use with our dolls. On the back of the box, there is an illustration of everything that's included, and there's a list of everything included. Let's open it up to get a closer look at those minis. In my experience with Teeny Tinies, sometimes the printing is off a little. The bulbs on this wreath are only halfway printed, but they are 3D, and I do appreciate that they are trying to give us printed details. If you do decide to give these a try, I would suggest inspecting them in the store to try to get the best one. The printing on this one does look a little better. Let's compare them side by side. Yeah, it's better. I wonder if we can just paint over it. I'm using a little acrylic paint, and this just became a project. I'm going to allow this to dry. While waiting, let's take our silicone mat and make a circle of hot glue. I think you can already tell what's about to happen. I made a little mound of glue and we're gonna allow it to dry. Then let's add a little texture using the nozzle to kind of melt the glue. And this is a good time to use some of those little glue bits that fall off your glue gun. We're gonna just melt those right in. Then just keep tapping it to hopefully make something that will eventually look like greenery. Then add a few drops of glue, paint it green. I add a lighter green for some highlights. Then let's paint those round drops of glue. I'm adding a brown base coat on a few of them. And we are painting the teeny tiny wreath as well. Go over the brown with a little gold. Add a little gloss Mod Podge. Add a bow to the one made from hot glue. And now we have 3 to compare. Here's the wreath from the teeny tiny set. Here's the one that we repainted. And here's one that we made out of hot glue. It is good to have options. If you like the teeny tinies as is, then that is great, but it's also good to know that we can customize them or DIY something similar. And the 2023 12 Days of Christmas Barbie Advent Calendar does come with something similar. It retails for $150. And with these items, you could probably put together one of your own. Like I said, it's good to have options. Teeny Tinies also comes with a stocking and a small candy cane. The stocking does have a small opening at the top, and we can place the candy cane inside. We have quite a few videos on how to make a miniature stocking. Some require a little sewing, but I like a real quick no-sew option. Here is some recycled paperboard. Let's sketch a stocking shape. Cut it out. Cover it with fabric, ribbon, or felt. I'm using a velvet ribbon. Trim off the excess, and it already looks like a little stocking. But I'm going to add another piece of fabric on top, and we're going to wrap it around the edge and glue it in the back, making small cuts to get around the curve, making a small pocket. The back is not very pretty. I'm going to neatly cut the edge off of the ribbon, make a little loop, glue it to the back of our little stocking, then use a few scraps of ribbon to cover it up. Add lace or trim across the top to make easy stockings that can hold stuff. And yep, I am totally taking those little candy canes. There is a small container of peppermint bark. It is plastic with stickers. There's a tiny snowman statue for a little holiday decor. There's a pile of chocolate chip cookies. They are all stuck together. Again, the paint is off a little. 2 little gingerbread people. They are plastic with little painted or printed details. Let's compare some of these items to our 1/6 scale dolls. Here's the wreath. It's a really good size. Here is our homemade one. The stockings are kind of small, but stockings do come in different sizes. Here's the one that we made. Here's the small pile of cookies. The gingerbread people are also pretty good. And the tiny snowman home decor. There's a small glass of milk. It's a little plastic cylinder-like shape with a sticker. There is a similar cup of eggnog, a plastic letter to Santa. It is finished all the way around, but cannot open. There's a small Christmas ornament, a Yule log cake. It has holly leaves and berries on top. I made something similar years ago when I was watching the Great British Baking Show on Netflix. I could just imagine Paul saying, "It has a good swirl." There's a little gingerbread house. How adorable is this? It's plastic and hollow, but it is painted on all sides. Here it is with a doll. And you know, we have a DIY for a gingerbread house. And here it is. Yeah, I was having fun. This is a very large Pinterest-inspired gingerbread house for our dolls made out of paper. Search MyFroggyStuff gingerbread house and it should come up. We made one out of craft foam 11 years ago, and we made a dollhouse out of cardboard 7 years ago. I think it's safe to say I like gingerbread houses. And if you got a 3D pen, they work great for icing. I guess this one is figgy pudding. It's a ball with white icing and some holly leaves and little berries on top. There's a snowman cupcake, a large cookie container. It's blue with a sticker going around the side. It does open, and it has a little piece of tissue paper. Here it is next to a doll. It comes with 2 individual plastic cookies with painted details that are totally doll-sized, and there is a small cup of hot cocoa with marshmallows. And they painted it so it looks like we've spilled a little bit of the chocolate on the other side. But for the most part, it looks like everything would work for the dolls. If we get more than one set, we can have a matching pair. And of course, we can always DIY our own. We can look through catalogs and magazines for pictures that we can cut out and glue onto a couple layers of cardstock or craft foam, cut them out to make a few easy dollhouse cookies. Well, it does take a minute to cut out such tiny little pictures, but if you're doing like a 12 days of crafts type of thing, then it's not too bad. I love that idea. On day 1, we can use a bottle cap to make a cookie tin, or something that looks like one. I ran to my computer and made a quick printable. Well, it wasn't quick, but here it is. and we're gonna cut out this blue strip, glue it around the bottle cap. If you want to shine, just cover it with a little clear tape. Cut a circle of tissue paper to go inside the cap. And now we have a place to store our cookies. On day 2, we can make the cookies. Just in case you can't find some to cut out, I made a printable. We can glue them onto cardstock, just like before, then cut them out and place them in the cookie tin. The snowflakes are definitely the easiest to cut out. On the 3rd day of crafting, let's make more cookies. I'm gluing these onto tan cardstock. I'm gonna add a little swirl of paint in the center to give the center a little shine. And when I don't have gloss paint, I just use nail polish. Then I just cut them out to make easy jelly-filled cookies for the dolls. On the 4th day, we can make the wreath. On the 5th day, we can make a new printable book. Just cut it out, use recycled paperboard to help make the inside of the book cover. And you can check out our DIY UGG slipper video to see detailed instructions on how we make our books. And this is another thin book, so we're gluing the template onto craft foam, then glue it inside the cover and add the faux pages. To make another Lucy Score inspired mini. They are easy book covers to make. And on the inside of this book, you can write down all the different crafts you would like to try. On the 6th day, let's make a gift bag. I try to make a new gift bag every year, so we're just gonna cut this out, fold on the lines, including all the tabs at the bottom, fold over and glue the top, glue the white tab to the side, fold in the bottom tabs and glue them down. Add ribbon, thread, or paper for a handle and a little tissue paper to make a gift bag for the book. On the 7th day, let's cut out the card, fold it in half, use glue to hold them together, then fold them again to make our miniature holiday card. On the 8th day, we can take scrapbook paper or old holiday cards and cut them into rectangles and fold them in half to make more mini holiday cards. On the 9th day, we can make stockings. On the 10th day, let's make another wreath, only this time it's a smaller oval shape. Take a large glue stick, cut 2 pieces. I use my hot glue gun to melt down the sides to look like a candle. I add a small piece of black thread in the center, glue them into the greenery to make festive decorations for the dollhouse. On day 11, let's make a new mug using our Sharpie mug tutorial. And we made snowman mugs last year. This year, Mini Toya is on the mug. To make the mug, it's 2 parts and a leftover scrap of paper. Take the long paper strip. Starting at the end, I wrap it around a tube of chapstick, gluing along the way. I take the red strip of paper, fold and glue it in half, giving it a little curl. I decided to cut it and then we're going to stack and glue them together so we have 4 layers. Trim off the excess and bend it to make the letter D. I don't want the ends to overlap, so I had to trim them a little. Then glue it onto the side, press and hold until it dries, remove it from the tube and glue it onto a piece of paper. I fill the inside with a little hot glue. I paint the edges with a little craft paint, glaze it over with a little clear nail polish, cut a cotton swab into smaller pieces to make tiny marshmallows. Add a little brown paint inside the cup. And now I can see how tilted it is. Add the pieces of cotton swab into the paint to make a cup of hot cocoa. On the 12th day, let's take a plastic top from a bottle of mouthwash, roll felt, and glue it inside. I took an artificial plant off my tree of poinsettia. I pull it apart and cut it down. Cut the scraps to make smaller pieces and glue them on to make it fuller. I re-glue the plastic back. Then let's take a little bit of this and glue it in the center. I glue leaves onto a plastic stem. I also cut the leaves down, then attach the other piece on top. For this one, I didn't have another little flower backing, so I just glued it onto the stem, and it's looking just as good. Glue them into the felt, add a few squares of decorative paper or plastic to the bottom, secured with a rubber band from doll packaging, add ribbon and a bow to make poinsettias for the dollhouse, giving us 12 quick crafts that we can make for the holidays. And we can totally mix in our Five Below minis. Our printables will be available on our blog, myfroggystuff.blogspot.com, to download for free. Thank you for joining us. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Instagram at MyFroggyStuff, the Frog Vlog, and Bella of MyFroggyStuff. And we will see you next time. Bye! All right, who is ready to decorate for the holidays? On our YouTube Live, there was a request for a hidden doll room that looks like a book. On average, our hidden doll rooms are about 7 inches wide, so that would be a really thick book. But we have made binder rooms, or what looks like a binder, and they're a lot thinner, so this might be a good candidate for a room that looks like a book. However, this room doesn't have a floor and we can't store a lot of furniture in it, but it does make a great backdrop when you need something fast. So we are going to recycle this backdrop, which is very difficult to store, into a hidden doll room that we hope looks like a book. Oh my goodness, I just had the best idea. Okay, let's see if it works. I take my recycled foam board and I start removing all of the things that need to be removed. If you don't have foam board or don't want to use foam board, you can always use cardboard instead. This is totally destroying my nail polish that I just painted, but what are you gonna do? This was the front of my foam board and here is the back. So I got the back a lot cleaner. So we're gonna use that for the inside of our room. This foam board measures 20 by 30. On the 30-inch side, I draw a line 13 inches from the edge, cut on the line drawn, giving me a 13 by 30-inch piece and a 7 by 30-inch piece. Take the 13-inch piece, I trim it down to 22 inches long. I measure over 10 inches from the sides, score a line, then repeat on the other side, making a little binder room that is 13 inches tall with 10-inch walls and 2 inches in the back. But I would like my scene to be a little larger, so I use leftover foam board to cut 6-inch wide walls, line them up on the edge, leaving a little bit of space between them, apply glue, then a strip of plain white paper, connecting the wall while still giving us some flexibility to turn it whatever direction we want. Repeat on the other side to extend our play area. Lay it with the inside facing down. I take wrapping paper and cover the outside, gluing the paper into that seam so we don't lose the flexibility in our wall, and I wrap it over the edge. I chose to leave the center blank because I want to use a different color on the spine. I take a paper lunch bag and carefully open it up, cut a large strip, glue it over the spine, going into those scored edges so everything will look nice and clean. Take the excess over the edge to get that classic book look. We can decorate the spine with a little gold tape or even foil paper. We can also add sticker letters onto the side to label the room. Now that we've decorated the outside, let's decorate the inside. We can cover it with scrapbook paper or plain white paper. I'm gonna go with white paper with some lines. Sometimes my scrapbook paper is a little thick and it can stop my walls from folding easily. so I'm going with the computer paper because it's a little thinner. However, since it's white, thin paper, sometimes you can see through it. If that might be a drawback for you, just be careful about what color paper you use when covering the outside of this hidden doll room binder book. Yeah, whatever this is. And another thing, these lines here will totally tell on you if you did not have your wall straight or put your paper on straight, because they all kind of just go down at an angle. But hopefully when we start adding a few details, it won't be that noticeable. I have a little bit of that foam board left over. I draw a 4 by 12 inch rectangle. Let's cut it out. Cover it with scrapbook paper. I have some thin cardboard. Let's cut some 3/4 inch strips. Cut them to fit the door. Cover with paper. Glue them on top to make a door. Glue it onto one of the walls. I cut strips of foam board and glue them around the edges to add a door to our room. But it is important to make sure it can still close. So yeah, it closes, but we really can't add much else popping out from the walls unless we're adding something onto the spine. But we can add flat objects like printables onto the walls. This is a printable from our log cabin that we made a long time ago. I want to use it on this wall, but the woods don't match. But that's an easy fix because we can just glue the scrapbook paper right on top over the existing lines. So let's cut it out, glue the strips of paper on top, then glue it onto a wall. Not bad. This is giving us a very basic room that can be used as a great backdrop for our dolls. Let's add another door to this wall, but I think we can make it a little thinner by gluing the paper directly onto the wall. Duh! Glue the covered cardboard on top, add the strips of foam board to make an easier door. I went ahead and switched out the other side, so yeah, we just saved a little bit of foam board. Glue on a bead for a doorknob, and for me, I find that it works best to glue it onto the outermost edge, so the room is still easy to close. Lay down scrapbook paper for a floor, and we have a hidden doll room in a book. Now let's make some stuff we can decorate this space with. Let's add a fireplace. I cut a 6 by 13 inch rectangle. I cut a rectangle from the bottom, glue scrapbook paper onto the front, bend it around the edges, and glue it in the back. I cut another piece that is 6 by 5 inches. I glue black paper to the front. I cut 2 1 by 13 inch strips. I cover the lower half with black paper, glue the strips onto the sides so the black is facing inward. I cut out one of our fireplace printables, glue it to the black paper, then glue it in the back to give the illusion of a fire. Cut 2 1-inch strips that can go all the way across, glue them together to make a right angle, fill in the sides with more foam board, cover it with the brick paper, glue it onto the front. This added some stability and allows it to stand with no problem. I cut more pieces of foam board to add a frame going around it. Let's add another piece right here across the top, then some 1/4 inch strips. Just layering the foam board because all that layering is adding detail and dimension. I cut the leftover pieces into tiny squares, then glue them on. I add a 3/4 inch piece on top and then a 1/2 inch piece to make a fireplace with a mantle. This is freestanding, so we can place it wherever we want. And I left the bottom open so we can add a flameless tea candle to give our fireplace a little glow. We can go a step further by removing the little flame cover, glue black paper on top, add a little glitter mixed with glue to the printed flames. I think this is a situation where less is more, and I kind of like an orange more than a gold just around the bottom. Place the tea lights underneath, making sure we have access to the switch, creating a fireplace with a little glow. And hopefully the glitter catches some of that light and creates a little sparkle. All right, room check, fireplace check. Let's make a couch. I'm using a kitchen towel from Target to bring a little color into this space. And let's recycle an Amazon box to build our couch. I start by cutting a rectangle so we can see how large we would like the couch to be. We're going to use this for the base and then just build everything on top. Begin cutting rectangles to glue together to make small boxes. I make 2 for the arms, make another one for the back, and I made a slightly taller one for the cushion that will be on the bottom. Normally, I would like to break it up and make separate cushions. However, I'm limited on fabric, so we need to go for something a little more simple. This dish towel is 18 by 28 inches, and I'm starting to have second thoughts. This is a lot of pattern for me. We could go for a more neutral color and then just use the other one as like throw pillows. Which one? I don't know why picking out fabric is so difficult. Let's just do it and be wild for the holidays. We have 5 pieces that need to be covered, so let's get started. I add a few layers of felt to the seat. I did 3 layers just to soften that edge a little. Remove the hem on the towel so we can get a little more fabric. Then cover the box with the fabric, folding it like a present on the sides. The arms of the sofa should cover the sides, so we only need to worry about the parts that will be visible. At the same time, I want to make sure the ends are glued securely as well as the bottom edges, because those are going to be the contact areas for the other parts of the sofa. Take the back, and we're going to glue it on to the front and the back. I glued down the part I know is going to be attached to the cushion, so it's nice and secure. Wrap the ends like a present, then close it on the bottom. Whoa, that's a lot of pattern. It's okay, let's just keep going. For the arms, I'm gonna glue this down near the bottom, but leave enough that we'll be able to glue underneath. I cut the corners at an angle, but I stop a little bit before I reach the cardboard. Fold them over the box, glue down on this side and onto the top, making sure to cover that top edge. Take the fabric and fold over the sides, making sure it is the same width as the box. We can iron those creases in place. I'm gonna add a little glue from a glue stick, then press the fabric flat to secure those edges without adding any bulky lines from hot glue. Fold in and glue down the bottom. Then let's take this portion and we're gonna just wrap it over it and glue it underneath, making sure that corner is tucked in so we don't see any raw edges. And I'm just gonna glue that down. I glued along the bottom edge and I'm deciding to leave this last little bit hanging loose. Repeat to make 2. Cover the base. I made sure the corners underneath the fabric were secured with glue in case we want to add feet. Begin gluing the pieces onto the base. Then take the tail end of the arms and we're going to glue that underneath to make our couch, which is kind of short. So I'm going to recycle the glue stick caps from my used glue sticks. I cover them with wood grain paper. I filled them with hot glue for a little weight. And I just used cut pieces of a glue stick to reduce drying time. Then glue them underneath to raise our sofa a little. And the feet just kind of blend in. So yeah, I like that. Let's add some pillows, and I want to bring out that pink color a little. So let's add these from our 7 gift ideas for under $5 video. I think that red is just throwing it, and it is a little loud for me. So let's just paint them. I'm using a little nail polish on a Q-tip to change the color of the fabric, going from this to this, toning down that color a little, allowing our pillows to match. And we can bring in the ottoman as well. Let's move the couch so it's kind of facing the fireplace and make a tree to go in this space. On YouTube Live, we made a Charlie Brown inspired tree. I kind of like the idea of a little sparse tree. However, I want something a little taller. I take a twig from the yard and glue on a few more branches, glue greenery onto the ends. That looks about right. Cut the ends off of popsicle sticks, cross them and glue them together. Glue cut pieces onto one of the ends so that they are now the same height. So when we flip it over, it's level. Glue the tree to the popsicle sticks to make our own little tree. It's like a Charlie Brown Christmas tree, but upgraded. Now we need some lights and bulbs. Lights are easy. I found some LED lights with green wire at Walmart. Let's wrap the lights around the tree. Since our tree is a little thin, some of the wire was visible, so I added a little bit more greenery. But for the most part, it's done. And I hid the battery pack under the couch. However, we could also hide it behind the fireplace as well. Yeah, let's just tape it behind the fireplace. That way we can have the option of moving the couch around. Next, we need bulbs. I want bulbs to bring out more of this pink, however, I couldn't find them anywhere. So I picked up these berries from Target. They are little stems with 3 little berries, and each one is on a wire. They feel like they're made of foam and they're very lightweight. So let's use nail polish, the same one we used on the couch, to paint the little berries, allowing us to make bulbs in any color we want. After 2 coats and waiting for them to dry, remove them from the stem, bend the wire to make a hook, trim off the excess, and hang them onto the tree for ornaments. We can use glitter polish to change them up a little and add some sparkle. I added a second coat of glitter paint onto those bulbs, and we're gonna just let that dry. And let's open up this room a little and push that wall back so we have more space. Let's add a quick rug to define this space. I take a piece of felt, cut it to the size you want, then glue a faux fur or fuzzy fabric on top. And mine's a little short, so I'm just gonna have to glue 2 pieces together. But since this is fuzzy, I don't think it'll be that obvious. I glue them on using hot glue, trim off the excess, and use it to fill in the gaps. There we go, much better. Now let's make some decorations for the mantle. I've been using these mini wreaths from Target that we showed in our Target Fun Find video. I used them for the greenery on our tree, and I still have some left over. I cut another piece of foam board that is slightly larger than our current mantle to make a false mantle where we can glue everything on top and then remove it after the holidays. Out of leftover felt, I cut out 2 stocking shapes, glue on a fabric that matches the room, make little cuts around the curves, then fold them over and glue down. Glue ribbon around the top, add string to the back, and I added a little pom-pom to make little stockings. Glue them onto the edge of the foam board, glue on the greenery, going all the way across, cut a glue stick, run glue down a piece of black thread. While that's drying, let's melt the top of the glue stick. Once the string has hardened, glue it inside of the glue stick to make miniature candles. Let's spruce them up with a little nail polish on the outside, glue them onto the mantle for faux decorative candles. Take toothpicks and glue them together at the point. I start with 2, then I add a few more to make a little triangle shape. I paint it with polish to match Then I added glitter. I might have gone overboard. Handle glitter responsibly. Let's glue them onto the corners of the mantle. I add a few of our painted bulbs, then set it on top of the fireplace for a holiday look that is removable. I'm just using a couple of pearl pins, pushing them right through the foam to hold it in place. I took some of those leftover lights we hid behind the fireplace, and I'm just gonna add them to the mantle. All right, looking good. I take one of the mini wreaths from Target. I'm gonna take those little pine pieces and we're gonna just glue them onto the frame so they're just a little tighter and not sticking out quite so much. And if you don't want to glue them, you can also just wrap them with thread. Glue on a few bulbs. I found some smaller little pearl berries to add on and fill in some of the gaps. I could hang this above the mantle or above the doors. Actually, no, it's a little wide for the door. But I'm gonna hang it above the window to just spread a little more cheer around the room. And let's put our TV from YouTube Live with the changeable screens above the fireplace so the dolls can watch their favorite holiday movies. Place the DVDs in the remote control on the ottoman so they're close by when the dolls are chilling on the couch. Last but not least, we need some place to store our little holiday cards. So let's take 3 jumbo craft sticks, cut the ends off of 2, make them the same length, then cut a shorter one. Glue the longer ones onto the shorter one, making a triangle. Take embroidery floss or a thick thread, and we're gonna just glue it going zigzag across the back. I use a little poster putty on the back of my Dolly Friends cards to make a holiday card display. The MyFroggyStuff 2021 holiday card is available on our blog, myfroggystuff.blogspot.com, to download for free. There's a link in the description box below. Let's add a cut piece of fabric to the couch. Let's put it on the other side, so the dolls have a throw to cuddle up and get cozy while watching their favorite holiday movies. Thank you for joining us while we made a hidden doll room in a book-like structure. However, all of the furniture will have to be stored in our attic when not in use. But it sure was a lot of fun making these holiday crafts. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Instagram at MyFroggyStuff and the Frog Vlog. And we will see you next time. Happy crafting! Bye! Ooh, and happy holidays!
My favorite holiday. It means so much more than words can say. And I claim that Christmas is a magic day. Sometimes I tend to forget what glory this holiday represents. But it's fair to say that Christmas is a magic day.
What's up, Fabs and Besties? Today we are going to do outdoor decorations for our dolls in a hidden doll room. Yeah, so we're gonna make a scene inside of a hidden doll room that is supposed to look like it's outside. I am using foam board to build our hidden doll room. However, if you do not have foam board or don't want to use foam board, you can always use cardboard instead. Scrapbook paper, old ornaments, and lights. Oh, and we need greenery, printables, and fleece. Let's start by building our basic doll room. This foam board measures 20 by 28 inches. I cut 7 inches off of the bottom by drawing a line, then use a sharp X-Acto knife to press down firmly and cut on the line. So we end up with 2 pieces of foam board, one that is 7 inches wide and another that is 13 by 28 inches. We want to have at least 7 inches in the center, so we're going to take 28 minus 7, that's 21, and then we're going to divide that in half, which is 10 and a half. So let's measure over 10.5 inches on the sides, score on the line so it can bend and snap while staying connected. Repeat on the other side to make a trifold. Lay it down. I glue scrapbook paper onto the ends. My paper is not quite long enough, so I'm using 2 pieces. We are going over that bend, so before the glue dries, make sure you can still bend this wall and the paper sticks into the corner. I left the center open because we're going to put the door there. However, the rise in the paper might leave an indent on our printable, so you can cover it if you want to. I'm just going to leave it blank. Measure over 8.5 inches on the sides. Score a line so the wall can bend out. Repeat on the other side to create a little recess in the wall. Cut a piece of the leftover foam board to 10.5 inches. Cover with paper for the floor. Before we glue it in place, let's do the windows. We could cut them out, but I am going to use our printable window. I printed one for each wall and a template so we can have 3D shutters. Cut everything out, glue the templates onto leftover foam board, cut them out, cover them with the printables to give the shutters a little depth. Glue them onto the walls, cut out our plain door printable, and remember all of our printables are available on our blog, myfroggystuff.blogspot.com. Glue in the floor. Yay! It's starting to look like a house. I cut some of the leftover foam board into 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch strips, glue them around the door. I put the 1/2 inch pieces on the sides and a 3/4 inch piece across the top. Then I cut another piece that was 1/4 inch wide and glued it onto the top. And our front door in a hidden doll room is complete. Since we used printables, this was very easy to make. We can get different angles and it still looks pretty realistic. So we can easily make them for all our dolls. Or we could have them decorated permanently for different seasons, so all we have to do is switch out the hidden doll room. Speaking of seasons, let's deck the halls of this room. I have a little bit of foam board left over, and we're going to use it to make a platform to hide our battery packs in for our lights. This is 2.25 inches by about 8 inches, and then I cut a 1 inch piece that I'm going to glue to the outside edge. Then I glued pieces onto the sides. We're going to glue the battery pack underneath, but I just realized the switch is on the side. So if we had an opening here, we could turn it off and on from the side without having to tilt the whole thing up or lay it on its back to have access to the switch. So I'm cutting out a little hole. I'm going to push the lights through that hole, then glue down the battery pack, leaving enough space so that we can open it to change the batteries and have access to the switch. Yeah, where is it? There we go. There. What? Nope. There we go. Off, on, off, on. Yeah, it works. We can add multiple lights coming out of both sides, but keep in mind it does start to get heavy. And we are going to glue this onto the wall, raised just a little so it can clear the floor when closed. Let's take some artificial trees. Some of these have seen better days, so I'm going to bend it to turn the tree into a bush, and we can glue it onto the platform. I place a taller tree on the side, then a smaller one on the other. Repeat for the other side. Let's use some picks to make a garland by removing some of the limbs. Then I have 2 long pieces, and we're just gonna bend them to connect them at the top. I just want to make sure they fit in the frame of the door. add the pieces that we removed back on. We might need to add a few more from another one. Once we get the shape that we want, wrap it with some of the lights to make a garland that goes around the door. I love the way this came out, but it's actually a little too thick to fit in this space and not cover up the door too much. So I removed the lights and I need to thin it out. I build a frame using the stems. I'm using floral wire to hold everything together. Then let's wrap it with the lights, and that's going to give it a little more strength. Then we can just pick off some of the pieces of the plant and glue them on. I had more control over where everything goes and how thick it is, and now it can fit around my door without covering it all up. I did like how lush it was before, but it was just so bulky I couldn't get it to work, so yeah. I took my wire from the attached pine cones, and I can use some of the leftover pieces to make a circle, add a little greenery, some miniature candy canes or ornaments, then glue it onto the door. Let's take the remaining lights and wrap them around the bushes and trees. A green wire would be ideal, but all I have is copper, so it is what it is. I also went around the windows a little just to add a little more sparkle, because we are using this as a backdrop for our photos and stories, so whatever little things we can have going on in the background will make it more interesting. And when we have our doll placed in front with a little distance, you might not even notice the wires because we're focusing on the doll. Or maybe we will still see them a little. I glued down a little bit of this random snow-like glitter. It was coming off the plants anyway, and I liked how it made this little frosted look. We do need to clean up this area right here and find some way to hide that. So we can use fleece. I cut 2 long rectangles of the fleece. I'm going to glue it onto the top of the platform and underneath the little trees, and we're going to just tuck that in. The fabric will cover whatever we want covered. Then we can just fold it around the edges of the little walkway to create our holiday scene. This is a really nice, clean, classy kind of look. I'm gonna add a little more detail above the windows to cover some of that wire and bring more of our decorations up. Speaking of decorations, we can leave it as is, or we can add a few more. We can lean a few candy canes against the bushes for a little extra flair. It's not permanent, we can switch them out. We can place ornaments in the yard. That's a great way to reuse some of our Christmas ornaments. At the end of the season last year, I picked up these gingerbread figures on clearance. We can put some behind the bushes and some in front if we want to go all out this season. I think this turned out pretty cute. Our oversized decorations help to mask some of the wire. Well, kind of. It's fun, it's colorful, and since our little gingerbread men, houses, and candy canes are not permanent, we can switch them out and have a different theme next year. Thank you for joining us while we made outdoor holiday decorations in a hidden doll room. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Instagram at MyFroggyStuff and the Frog Vlog. And we will see you next time. Bye!
on the snow.
What's up, Fabs and Besties? Looking for some gift ideas for the doll enthusiast in your life? Well, here are a few ideas. In the doll community, many people love exchanging miniature cards. Here are a few from my dolly friends from last year, mixed in with a few we've made ourselves. To make a personalized card, all you have to do is take a photo. First, let's pick out something to wear. This is my holiday binder, filled with lots of stuff, and yeah, I think we're gonna go with Christmas sweaters. Get the family dressed, pick out the perfect hidden doll room, set it up, add the dolly fam, make sure everyone is looking at the camera, and take a photo. Try out a few different poses until you get the look that you want. Throw it into an editing app. I use FaceApp to give my husband a goatee. Just gotta trim it up a little, and a smile. I throw it in Warble to add a little snow, add some text, and you're good to go. I made mine on a 4x6 canvas, then I printed it on photo paper. And voila! We have a holiday card, and I didn't spend any extra money. And of course, the dolls will need one too. So I printed 16 to a page, then I just cut them out. So we have one for our friends and one for the dolls. If you have a printer at home, this project cost pretty much no money. Here is another quick no-sew idea, and it's a great gift that you can add in your card. I bought a pack of dish towels from Target. It was $5 for 2. All we need is the dish towel, a pair of scissors, and an iron. Irons are hot. You have been warned. Iron the dish towel. My iron is not on. We're just doing this for demonstration purposes. Cut 1 3/4 by 4-inch rectangles. Cut 2. Fold over the sides until they meet each other in the center. Use the iron to steam it flat. Fold it in half and steam it again. Pull the threads on the end just to unravel it a little. And we're gonna make a little bit of a fringe here. Totally optional, I just think it's a nice touch. And now I can give my dolly friends 2 dish towels. Yeah, these will mail a lot better than those cutting boards I tried to mail last year. They're fast and easy to make, and with 1 dish towel, we can make a ton. So we paid $5 for the dish towels. We only used 1, so that was what, $2.50? $2.50 for multiple gifts. Sounds like a deal to me. If you don't mind a little painting, how about a doormat? Felt can be pretty inexpensive. I can usually find it for less than $1 for a sheet. For this project, I'm using a brown and a black, so that's a $2 budget. And we can make quite a few doormats with this. We will also need paint. Now, I am going to assume that you have that, so we're not going to add it into the cost. However, if you don't have it, you can usually find that for less than $1 as well, so you're spending $3. The price will go up if you're using more colors. I cut a rectangle that's about 3.5 by 2.25 inches. I cut it out of the brown first, then I glue it onto the black. You can use whatever you like to glue them together, hot glue, tacky glue. I'm using tacky glue. This does take a little longer to dry, so we might as well make a few at a time. Cut them out, use paint to make a design. We can keep it pretty simple and just add a few trees, or we can paint words for a fun greeting. We can add other colors to look like snowflakes or lights. I would say you can make probably at least 8 or so with 2 pieces of felt, making this a pocket-friendly gift for the holidays. If you have access to a printer, then mini books are also a great gift. On our blog, myfroggystuff.blogspot.com, we have a nice amount of printables available to download for free. Some of our books have words, some of them are just journals. We also made a miniature version of our paper dolls. To make our hardback book, you will also need like an index card, recycled paperboard, or poster board. Cut out the cover and the templates. Glue the template onto an index card, cardstock, recycled paperboard. It's up to you. And I'm just using a glue stick to glue down the templates, cut them out. When cutting out the cover, I cut the corners of the tabs at an angle. So they're kind of like trapezoids, and that's just so that you don't see them when folded. So we're gonna go ahead and fold on the lines, glue the templates between the creases, making sure there's a little space between the sides and the spine, then fold over the tabs and glue them down. To make the hardback cover, cut out the strips of pages, fold them accordion style, gluing between the pages. Glue the two strips together. The paper is just a little long, so I'm going to trim the end. Glue the two red pages into the cover. To make a mini book. The paper dolls are a little easier. We just cut out all of the pages. I glue some of the pages together so they're double-sided. Then I tape them together, one page at a time. Cover the spine with tape to make a miniature paper doll book for the dolls. We left a couple of pages loose to make it look like they're playing with the dolls. I might be able to cut one out. I added the little stand in the back and yeah, we did it. I even cut out the little windows. This was all printed on one piece of cardstock, and it could be a pretty fun gift for your doll friends. If you don't mind a little sewing, then you can't go wrong with some decorative pillows for $4.99. You just want to find like a rich, fancy fabric. I got this out of the remnant bin at the fabric store for $4.99. I use a sticky note for a pattern. This is about a 3 by 3 inch square. Cut two and lay them good side to good side. Sew them together using a needle and thread, or use a sewing machine to go all the way around, leaving an opening where we can turn it inside out. Add fluff, then sew the opening closed to make little decorative pillows. And if I was giving this as a gift, I would totally make two. And I would put them in a little shopping bag because you know presentation is everything. This is a free printable on our blog, so you know you're still keeping the cost down. Just cut them out. Each bag is made with 3 pieces. Fold on all of the lines. Make cuts on the center 2 lines. Take the strips, and we're gonna very carefully just twist them, leaving the ends open. Glue down the top tab on the bag using a glue stick, then fold it over, then glue on the handles. Take the sides, fold them up, and glue them in place to make a mini shopping bag. If you want to make it festive, just glue on a little pine, make a little bow out of string or ribbon to instantly make the bags more festive. Add a little tissue paper and our present to make a great little gift for our friends that doesn't break the bank. And we can use the decorated shopping bags for other small items as well. If you have some bottle caps lying around, here is another idea. I picked up some jute twine from Walmart a while back. It was less than $1, and a pack of wooden dowels from the Dollar Tree. We're gonna need 4 of those, possibly 5. And a little bit of felt if you wish to clean up the bottom. Make a knot on the end of the twine, trim off the excess, glue it to the center of the cap. I used a dot of hot glue, then begin to just wrap it all the way around, gluing along the way. I took my time and covered as much of the cap as possible because we don't want to see it. Place it onto felt and cut out a circle. I cut wooden dowels at 4.5 inches. I cut them from the ends so they have one side that's pretty straight. Glue the wooden dowels underneath. I have some leftover pieces. They measure a little under 3 inches. From them, I cut 2 1/4 inch pieces, glue them 2 inches from the bottom, glue the felt underneath, hiding the cap to make a set of bar stools. If you want to make something a little faster, take a larger bottle cap, cover it with felt, cover it with a fabric with a little stretch, gluing it underneath, add little legs and felt underneath to make a little footstool. And this is a great way to use up those bottle caps you've been saving all year. If your doll friends are into fashion, how about a designer-inspired dress? I have a red dance fabric here, and we're gonna make a look inspired by Zendaya's look at the CFDA Fashion Awards. All we need to do is make 2 tubes and a scrunchie. Take a small rectangle of material, fold it over, make sure it can fit around the doll's chest. Mine measures 5 by 3 inches. Now we do have it a little larger than we need, just in case the fabric moves while sewing. With the good side on the inside, fold it in half and sew a line across the bottom. I did a zigzag stitch about 1 inch from the fold. Trim off the excess, turn it inside out, place it on the doll with the seam facing up, measured around the back, sew a line going straight across. Trim off the excess, turn it inside out to make a tube top for the doll. Repeat to make a skirt. This time I could just use a straight stitch instead of a zigzag because I can place the seam at the bottom and I don't have to worry about stretching it over her hips. Sew a tube with a straight stitch. After you're sure that it fits the doll, trim off the excess, flip it inside out to make a skirt. Cut a long strip of fabric. This one's about 24 by 4.5 inches. Fold it in half so the good side's on the inside. Sew a straight line going across the edge, flip it inside out, run elastic cord down the center, tie it so it fits around the doll's waist, fold over one of the ends, place the other one inside, and then sew down. You can blind stitch it for a neater look. I'm just kind of short on time. To make a scrunchie, place it around the doll's waist for an instant designer look. Now this is a red stretchy fabric, which makes me a little nervous about staining, so just don't wear it all the time. I only bought $5 worth of fabric here. This is a dance fabric, and there's enough left over for a couple more dresses, giving us 7 gift ideas for our doll friends for under $5. We made personalized cards, a set of dish towels, doormats, books, bar stools, pillows in a designer shopping bag, and a designer-inspired dress. Thank you for joining us for another 7 quick crafts that we hope will make your holidays a little more crafty. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Instagram at MyFroggyStuff and the Frog Vlog, and we will see you next time. Bye!
Favorite holiday, it means so much more than words can say. And I claim that Christmas is a magic day. Sometimes I tend to forget what glory this holiday represents. But it's fair to say
Wow, that was a nice little walk down memory lane. And I got all my slices done so I can place them on the tree and add to the scene. Thank you for joining us for another MyFroggyStuff Mashup. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Instagram and YouTube at MyFroggyStuff and Bella of MyFroggyStuff on Instagram. And we will see you next time. Bye!